Chapter 244. The next day, a large transport ship flew in the direction of Guang'an Prefecture. Small cave days for transport ships. A barrack stood. The Chen family's large transport ship has been temporarily transformed into a troop transport ship. Dressed in a dazzling spirit armor, the cultivator shuttled through the barracks. Chen Daoxian inspected and turned to a burly cultivator behind him, wearing a blue spirit armor, and said, "This new army has a good morale." Hearing this compliment, Lei Zhan with a rough face laughed and said, "This new army is an excellent soldier carefully selected from the Western Union Army under the command of the Lord." After the Battle of Zhangzhou corpse tide, even if the soldiers of the Western Union Army were placed on the front line of the Izumo Kingdom, they were considered a group of elite soldiers. The subordinates carefully selected 3,000 people from them to form a new army, and their morale was of course strong. Heard. Chen Daoxian nodded, then looked at Chen Fuxing who was following him, and said, "Fuxing, you will hand over to General Lei later, and arrange my Chen family cultivator into this new army." When Chen Daoxian said this, he kept watching Lei Zhan's expression, and found that his face was no different, and nodded secretly in his heart. Although he had explained to Lei Zhan before, after this new army was selected, the Chen family cultivator would take over. But everyone has the problem of coveting power. Lei Zhan said at the time that there was no problem. Now that the new army has been reorganized, who knows if he will have an idea in his heart. The human heart is not something that can be restrained by relying on a mere oath. "Minister Chen, please give me more advice." "Don't dare." Seeing Lei Zhan bowing his hands to him, Chen Fuxing didn't dare to be arrogant and hurriedly returned the salute. Although Lei Zhan was a guest of the Chen family, the object of his allegiance was Chen Daoxian, not Chen Fuxing. Strictly speaking, both of them were subordinates of Chen Daoxian, and there was no difference in status. Of course. In fact, Chen Fuxing, as the most talented sword cultivator in the Chen Jiafu generation, was different from Lei Zhan, an outsider. Thunderbolt. Subordinates are here. Lei Zhan bowed to Chen Daoxian. Chen Daoxian tapped the storage bag on his waist, and a jade bottle appeared in the palm of his hand. He waved his hand, and the jade bottle automatically flew towards Lei Zhan. Lei Zhan took the jade bottle and said at a loss, "This." Chen Daoxian explained, "This is Zifu Dan." Hearing that the jade bottle in his hand was actually the Zifu Dan dreamed of by the Foundation Establishment cultivator, Lei Zhan immediately flushed with excitement. "I promised you at the beginning that when you open up the Zifu in the future, my Chen family will sponsor you as the Fudan. Now that you have established the 9th floor of the Foundation, and you are only a line away from the completion of the Foundation, it is time to fulfill the promise of my Chen family." Hear this. Lei Zhan's heart was suddenly filled with the thought of Chen Daoxian's liver and brain. He wanted to bow down to Chen Daoxian on the spot. Chen Daoxian held him up with one hand, patted his right hand and said, "As long as you serve my Chen family faithfully, my Chen family will never treat you poor soldiers." Lei Zhan nodded, slightly choked up. As a loose cultivator who has served in Yunmingwen for many years, Lei Zhan knows how difficult it is to find a reliable master. When he was in Yunming Pass, it wasn't that he didn't understand the world at all. But most of Yunmingwen circles are controlled by Jingzhou cultivators, and even if Lei Zhan wanted to merge, he couldn't get in. It is nothing new for Zhangzhou cultivators to be ostracized by cultivators from other states on the battlefield of Izumo. Even Zhou Mubai, who was on the Zifu Tianjiao list, was rejected and hostile by monks from other states when he served on the front line of Izumo, let alone Lei Zhan, a loose cultivator with no foundation. This is also one of the reasons why Zhangzhou cultivator hates Yi Wudao so much. The speed of the large transport ship is extremely fast. Although it is not as fast as Zhou's Spirit Void battleship, it is also much faster than the escape of ordinary Foundation Establishment cultivators. After a few hours, Lingbei Island was already in sight. Since the Chen family arrived a day late, by the time Chen Daoxian arrived, many Zhangzhou cultivators had already arrived. After the Battle of Zhangzhou corpse tide ended, the Zhangzhou Allied forces were not disbanded. As a member of the Zhangzhou Allied forces, after hearing the call of the Qinyuan sword sect, everyone naturally gathered towards the Zhou family in Zhangzhou. I have the experience of receiving monks from various palaces in Zhangzhou last time. The reception work of the Zhou family is undoubtedly much more calm this time. Before the Chun family's troop carrier approached Lingbei Island, a Lingshu battleship greeted him in the sky. Compared with the large transport ships of the Chun family, the Spirit Void battleship, which used to be like a behemoth, is extraordinarily thin in front of the huge size of the large transport ships. Of course, although large transport ships are large in size, they have no combat effectiveness themselves. Compared with the Spirit Void battleship, there is still no comparison. Close to the Chun family large transport ship, a figure flew down from the Spirit Void battleship. Chun Daoxuan's consciousness swept away, and after seeing who was coming, he hurriedly flew out of the Chun family transport ship with a smile. Uncle Zhou, long time no see, stay safe. It was none other than Zhou Mucheng, who retired from the Western Union Army after the Zhangzhou Corps Tide War. Chun Daoxian didn't expect that after Zhou Mucheng retired from the Western Union Army, he actually took charge of a Spirit Void battleship again, so he smiled and said, "Congratulations to Uncle Zhou's reinstatement." Hearing this, Zhou Mucheng immediately flushed and laughed. At this time, another figure flew out from the Spirit Void battleship. Looking closely, it was Zhou Mucheng's son, Zhou Siliang. Brother Siliang. Chun Daoxian smiled and nodded to Zhou Sidian. Seeing Chun Daoxian taking the initiative to greet him, Zhou Siliang immediately put on a flattered expression, and hurriedly bowed and saluted. "I have seen Brother Chun." Seeing that Zhou Siliang was somewhat restrained, Chun Daoxian was not surprised. After all, in the last battle of Zhangzhou Xiancheng, Chun Daoxian became famous in Zhangzhou. Although he has not yet broken through the cultivation base of Zifu, in the entire Zhangzhou, there is no cultivator who will treat Chun Daoxian as a foundation-building cultivator. This is the disadvantage of increasing your strength and your fame. Even those who used to call you brothers and sisters will unconsciously create a sense of distance from you. "Nephew Daoxian, this is not a place to talk. You come with me, we will talk after entering the city." "Okay." Chun Daoxian nodded. After half an hour, the Chun family's large transport ship was anchored in a special port under the guidance of the Zhou family's Lingshu battleship. This port was newly built by the Zhou family after the formation of the Zhangzhou Business Alliance. It was specially designed to park immortal boats such as large transport ships. In fact, not only the Zhou family, but also the large and small immortal cities in Zhangzhou have all built such ports. Because now large transport ships completely monopolized Zhangzhou's commercial and trade transportation lines, there is no special port for large transport ships to park, which means that their own ferry city is excluded from Zhangzhou commerce. No family would do such a stupid thing. Stop the transport ship. Chun Daoxian only took Chen Fuxing and Lei Zhan out of the transport ship. The rest of the soldiers continued to stay in the small hole of the transport ship. Outside the transport ship, in addition to Zhou Mucheng and others, an acquaintance was also waiting for him. "Brother Chun, stay safe." In front, a handsome young Taoist man in a white Taoist robe stood outside the transport ship. The person who came was none other than the future helm of the Zhou family, Zhou Mubai. "Brother Zhou." Seeing Zhou Mubai, Chun Daoxian also had a smile on his face. He cupped his hands and said, "I can't believe that we have to fight side by side so soon. Please, please." After the two were polite, they walked side by side. Others such as Zhou Mucheng, Chen Fuxing, Lei Zhan, Zhou Siliang and others followed behind the two. "Brother Zhou," Chun Daoxian pondered for a moment, and asked as he walked, "I don't know why the Qinyuan Jianzong recruited my Zhangzhou cultivator this time? Is it just a matter of the passage of the real demon world in Taizhou?" "Heard." Zhou Mubai frowned and after coughing he said, "I don't know exactly what the matter is, but as far as I know, there is a problem on the opposite side of the Taizhou passage." "Across the passage?" Chun Daoxian frowned. "Opposite the passage is the real demon world." During this time, Chun Daoxian has used his clone and Mi Chan Fan to make waves in the Great Yuan Kingdom of the true demon realm for many times. According to Chun Daoxuan's understanding, the real demon world is incomparably vast, and it is not inferior to this world at all. The Great Yuan Kingdom is just a trivial country in the real demon world. In terms of strength, it is far less powerful than Qianyuan sword sect. Otherwise, Chun Daoxian would not be able to make a strong wave on the opposite side with just his base-building avatar and Mi Chan Fan. Although the instrument of Mi Chan Fan claimed to be able to escape in the hands of the nascent soul cultivator, it was based on the premise that the nascent soul cultivator was caught off guard and unprepared. Once the nascent soul cultivator is ready, There are too many ways for the other party to disable Mi Chunfan's random teleportation function. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian didn't dare to send clones after a few laps in Dune. Because the great demons and demon masters of the Great Yuan Kingdom are already prepared. If you wave again, you will be sent to death. The next 2 days, after the assembly on Lingbei Island, the Cangzhou cultivators rushed towards Taizhou. Taizhou and Cangzhou are quite far apart. Even if a large transport ship is used, it will take more than half a month to arrive. Headed on a spirit boat, Chen Daoxian said with emotion, no wonder Wan Xinghai has to rely on the immortal clan in each state to rule. This traffic is too inconvenient. Taizhou and Cangzhou are still 2 neighboring states, if it is the most distant 2 states. Chen Daoxian said and shook his head. Aside, the Taoist Huling with a flame pattern on his eyebrows smiled and said, Brother Chen, don't complain, we Cangzhou are pretty good, after all. It is relatively close to Qianyuan Sword Sect. If it is far away from Qianyuan Sword Sect state, that would be a mess. Oh. Chen Daoxian raised his brows and said, could it be that under Qianyuan Jianzong's rule, is there still such a chaotic place in Wan Xinghai? Of course. Taoist Huling seemed to be interested, otherwise, why do you think the old sect master of Qianyuan Sword Sect killed the Qi family? Cough cough. Seeing that Taoist Huling had no door on his mouth, Zhou Mubai hurriedly coughed. Dare to discuss the previous suzerain of Qianyuan Jianzong in public, that is, Huling Taoist has a deep background and has the courage. Change to someone else. Zhou Mubai shook his head. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian smiled and said, forget it, let's not talk about that. He paused, by the way, I want to ask for some 3rd-tier high-grade immortal swords. I don't know if you have stock in your hands. I am willing to buy them at high grade. Hear this. Zhou Mubai joked. Last time, your Chun family snapped up so many Zifu pills at the Zhang family's auction house, and now you are buying the 3rd-tier high-grade immortal swords. It seems that your Chun family has really made a fortune. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian smiled bitterly and said, it's just a little extra money. Compared with your family, my Chun family is too shallow, and I can only refine some low-level medicinal elixirs and earn some spiritual stones. Henry Zhang didn't think much about it. He took out a dozen sword boxes from the storage bag at will and said, these are the 3rd-order high-grade fairy swords in my private collection. With various attributes, Brother Chen picks a few that catch your eye. Bar. Seeing this scene, Chen Daoxian knew that this is the background of the big family. As the heir to the patriarch of the Zhang family in Jinan House, Henry Zhang can easily take out a dozen private collections of 3rd-order high-grade flying swords. You must know that these flying swords, in terms of the value of spirit stones alone, are already tens of millions of spirit stones. This shows the wealth of the immortal clan. When the Chen family was in downfall, the accumulation of several generations was only less than 10,000 spirit stones, and the two were simply worlds apart. Not to mention the loose cultivators who were worse than the Chen family back then. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian felt hopeless after crossing into this world. The cultivator clan and the sect forces monopolized the cultivation resources too desperately. So much so that loose cultivators and small family cultivators don't even have the spiritual energy to practice. If it weren't for the fact that the main force of the Qianyuan sword sect was against the public opinion and divided the interests of the battlefield of Izumo to the loose cultivator would never be able to come forward. Chen Daoxian looked at the sword boxes floating in front of him and opened them one by one. As Henry Zhang said, the fairy swords he took out were all treasures that he kept private, and each one was inferior to the rainbow light sword that the Yang family gave him at the beginning. Chen Daoxian selected 3 water-type flying swords and 1 metal-type flying sword in succession, and stopped. Just choose these 4 swords. Chen Daoxian smiled and handed over a high-end storage bag. This is a spirit stone. Henry Zhang waved his hand, took back the other 3rd-tier top-grade immortal swords, and took the storage bag handed over by Chen Daoxian. Immediately his expression changed. He frowned, stretched out his hand and dragged the storage bag and said, Brother Chen, what does this mean? Last time I auctioned so many Zifu pills at your Zhang family auction house. The extra ones are my personal thank you. Zifu pill is not so easy to buy. As a strategic pill, any Zifu pill will be strictly controlled by the sect and the major immortals. Chen Daoxian was able to buy so many Zifu pills, and the Zhang family really helped the Chen family a lot. The Chen family must accept this favor. He bought the third-order high-grade fairy sword at a premium, as a thank-you gift to Henry Zhang, and it just showed that the Chun family remembered the favor of the Zhang family. Everyone present was human. Chun Daoxuan's attitude made everyone present have a very good impression of the newly rising family of the Chun family. You know, Cangzhou is different from Taizhou and Jingzhou. Taizhou and Jingzhou are dominated by one family, and other immortal cultivators have to look up to the Jiang family and the Ji family. And although the Cangzhou prefectures have the most powerful families, as far as the entire Cangzhou is concerned, there is no hegemonic force like Taizhou and Jingzhou. The former Yi family had a few chances. When Cangzhou experienced a sharp decline in strength after the Cangzhou rebellion, the third elder of Qinyuan Jianzong placed his son in Cangzhou to open up the family, which may not have made Yi Wudao the overlord of Cangzhou. It's just that Yi Wudao couldn't support the wall with mud. Not only did he fail to improve his cultivation, but he couldn't even win people's hearts. All the monks in Cangzhou were offended by him again and again. To be honest, in terms of the ability to offend people, most people are not as strong as Yi Wudao. At least Chun Daoxian could not offend all the monks in Cangzhou now. Chapter 245. Half a month later, the Cangzhou allied forces entered the Taizhou border in a mighty manner. As soon as I entered the Taizhou boundary, I encountered more monks along the way. From these scattered escapes, it can be seen that most of these are loose cultivators from Yuanshan Xianqing and cultivators from Taizhou small families. The big clans like Taizhou Jiang family and Jingzhou Ji family traveled in a fleet of spirit boats that covered the sky and the sun, and it was impossible for them to be as scattered as loose cultivators. On the first ship of the Cangzhou fleet, Zhou Mubai and the others stood on the deck of the spirit boat, watching from the sky. Suddenly, a spirit boat fleet, nearly 5 times larger than the Cangzhou fleet, flew over in the direction of the Cangzhou fleet. That is, it's the fleet of the Ji family in Jingzhou. Henry Zhang looked around, saw the flag of the Ji family on the first ship, and replied. Chun Daoxian couldn't help but think of the Ji Yanzhao child he met in Yuanshan Xianqing, and secretly said, with such a strong strength, it is no wonder that the name of the Ji family in Jingzhou can make the Jiang family Tianzhao give in. When Taoist Hualing saw this scene, he smacked his lips and murmured, I don't know what happened across the Taizhou passage this time. It is worth my tri-state cultivator to fight so hard. Who knows? Henry Zhang shook his head. Qinyuan Jianzong blocked the news very deadly. Even if the few present were the heirs of the top immortal clan in Cangzhou, they didn't know why Qinyuan Jianzong's summoning order was issued. It's just that according to the decree of Qinyuan Jianzong, once the omen order is issued, no family or cultivator in Wan Xinghai can disobey. Otherwise it will be regarded as a betrayal of Qinyuan Jianzong, and will be punished by Qinyuan Jianzong and the major immortal families of Wan Xinghai. Punish. This is also the reason why the Chun family on Shuanghu Island did not hesitate to notify Chun Daoxian immediately after receiving the call-up order. In the sky, in addition to the Jiang family fleet, another fleet flew towards them. It's the fleet of Yuanshan Xianqing. Zhou Mubai recognized the symbol of Yuanshan Xianqing on the bow at a glance. Really? Before the two fleets converged, a voice sounded in everyone's mind. Taoists from Cangzhou, why don't you go together? Chun Daoxian recognized on the spot that this was the voice of Yuanying monk, Yuanshan Zhenjuan, from Yuanshan Xianqing. He was fortunate enough to hear the other party speak once in Yuanshan Xianqing, and was very familiar with the voice of Yuanshan Zhenjuan. Not only Chun Daoxian, other people probably listen to each other's sermons in Yuanshan Xianqing, so they are very familiar with Yuanshan Zhenjuan's voice. After everyone looked at each other, they all bowed and said, I will obey the decree of the true monarch. Good. Zhenjuan Yuanshan nodded. Soon, the two fleets slowly merged into one fleet under the dispatch of the Cangzhou clans in Yuanshan Xianqing. This time the momentum of the Cangzhou fleet has soared. Although it is still not as good as the fleets of the Jingzhou Ji family and Taizhou Jiang family, compared with the spirit boats of the small clans in various states, it is undoubtedly the third place in Taizhou, Jingzhou and Cangzhou. Great power. After the Cangzhou fleet and the fleet of Yuanshan Xianqing merged, everyone was fortunate to meet Yuanshan Zhenjuan, a senior in the Yuanying period. On the first ship of the Cangzhou fleet, for the first time, Chun Daoxian came into close contact with this true monarch Yuanshan. Apart from being tall and burly, this true monarch Yuanshan doesn't seem to be much different from an ordinary cultivator. Even when the other party was standing there, Chen Daoxian felt that he was just like an ordinary old man next door. Ordinary old man next door. Chen Daoxian was shocked. This is true monarch Yuanying. How could it be the old man next door? The power of true monarch Yuanying is not something he can fathom at all. Originally, he felt that after Wan Xinghai learned the three-headed and six-armed supernatural powers after several trials, his strength was not inferior to the top Zifu monks on the Zifu Tianjiao list. But now it seems that the top Zifu cultivators on the Zifu Tianjiao list are not bad if they can touch the side of ordinary Jindan cultivators. Zhou Mubai and others seem to have felt this too. After seeing Xinjuan Yuanshan himself, their attitude became more respectful, and they followed the attitude of Xinjuan Yuanshan. Everyone relax, don't be nervous. Xinjuan Yuanshan smiled and waved his hand. Yes, senior. Zhou Mubai and the others slowly raised their heads, and they all breathed a sigh of relief when they met Xinjuan Yuanshan's sincere gaze. To be honest, true monarch Yuanshan, the great cultivator of Yuanying, wants to walk with everyone, and it is impossible to say that everyone is not nervous. Although true monarch Yuanshan's reputation has always been very good, but he knows what he knows, but who knows what he thinks? Who knows what this true monarch Yuanying, who can suppress everyone in the palm of his hand, thinks? But now it seems that Xinjuan Yuanshan is not malicious. Seeing everyone relax, Xinjuan Yuanshan nodded and said straight to the point, I don't know what you all think about the Qinyuan sword sect summoning order? This? Everyone looked at each other in dismay. They didn't even know why Qinyuan Jianzong recruited their Cangzhou monks, so what were their opinions? Chen Daoxian bowed his hands to the Yuanshan true monarch and said respectfully, I also asked the seniors to point out the maze. Hearing this, Xinjuan Yuanshan stroked his beard and said with a smile, I know something about this matter. Hear this. Everyone pricked up their ears. You all know that there is a real demon world passage in the Taizhou boundary, but you should not know what is on the other side of the passage. True monarch Yuanshan paused. The world demon force opposite the Taizhou passage, called Qingqiu Demon Kingdom, is a force established by a world demon named Qingqiu Demon Lord. The real demon world is the same as our cultivator world, and it is also intertwined with large and small forces. This Qingqiu demon country is only one of the many forces in the real demon world. Originally, with the strength of the Qingqiu Demon Kingdom, it was more than enough for the Jiang family in Taizhou to guard the passage to the true demon realm. But this time a treasure appeared in the Qingqiu Demon Nation, which attracted many forces in the true demon realm to come to the Qingqiu Demon realm. Therefore, Qinyuan Jianzong had to urgently recruit monks from 3 states to go to Taizhou for support. I see. Chen Daoxian nodded, and then he wondered again. However, since there are many powerful demon masters coming to the Qingqiu demon country, why doesn't Qinyuan Jianzong send more Yuanying Zhenjuan to come? Of course I did. True monarch Yuanshan said with a smile. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace is here too. Palace Master Qin is here. Taoist Hualing's eyes lit up. Hearing the arrival of the hall master of Zhenhai Palace, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The shadow of the famous tree of people. As one of the youngest 7 hall masters of Qinyuan sword sect, Qin Zhan has always been known as the most talented monk in Qinyuan sword sect history. His strength is even more firmly in the top 3 in the entire Qinyuan sword sect, and the top 5 in the entire Wangxinghai. Sending such a strong person here is enough to prove that Qinyuan Jianzong attaches great importance to the treasures born in the Qingqiu demon country. In other words, Qinyuan Jianzong is worried about these demons in the real demon world, and under the guise of competing for treasures, they will invade Wangxinghai with a false shot. Hearing that Xinjuan Yuanshan explained everything to everyone in such detail, everyone vaguely understood the thoughts of Yuanshan Xinjuan. What Cangzhou cultivators lack most now is a high-level cultivator capable of suppressing one side. Although true monarch Yuanshan has an immortal city, most of these cultivators are loose cultivators and cannot be dispatched by true monarch Yuanshan. In fact, the number of monks that Xinjuan Yuanshan can directly dispatch is very limited. This can be seen from the fact that Yuanshan Xianqing has tens of millions of scattered repairers, but the fleet of Yuanshan Xianqing is not as large as the fleet of Cangzhou. In fact, it was the same in Cangzhou. Except for the disaster that affected the entire Cangzhou last time, ordinary scattered cultivators would not listen to the dispatch of the immortal clan. Annoying the loose cultivator, the other party patted his and left. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian ordered Lei Zhan to reorganize the new army, and only 3,000 people were reorganized after abolishing the power of 9 bulls and 2 tigers. It's not that other cultivators who have not been incorporated into the new army are waste, but many loose cultivators are reluctant to join the new army established by the Chen family after the corpse tide in Songzhou ends. From the point of view of the loose cultivator, it is better to go to the battlefield of the Cloud Kingdom to work for the Chen family. At least the Qianyuan Jianzong gave more. This kind of thinking of loose cultivation no one has changed. The same is true for Yuanchen Jinjuan. Although his cultivation base is extremely high, he is a Yuaning cultivator. For true monarch Yuanchen, the loose cultivators respect, but they are asked to sacrifice their lives to obey the dispatch of the other party. Sorry, can't do it. The monks of the Zhangzhou fleet were different. The main body of this Zhangzhou fleet is the cultivators of each family in Zhangzhou. Compared with the loose cultivators, the obedience of family cultivators is much higher. Take the cultivator of the Chen family as an example. Not to mention letting the Chen family cultivators fight for the family, even if they had been educated on family loyalty since childhood, none of them would frown. The elite children of other families are not much different from the Chen family cultivators. The loyalty education to the family is something that every cultivator family will do. This is also the guarantee of the strong cohesion of the Xiuxian family. The cohesion of the family is strong, that is, with the blood as the link and the education of the family as the foundation. The family cultivator who grows up in this way will fight for the family with all his heart. In terms of unity and cohesion, the sect monks are not as good as the family monks. On the deck of the ship, seeing that everyone was silent, Zhenjuan Yuanchen said bluntly, "I will say it directly, I Yuanchen Xiancheng want to form a verbal alliance with you." Hearing this, everyone looked at each other. Zhou Mubai cupped his hands and said, "I dare to ask, Senior, what is an alliance in words? You have also seen that I am short of subordinates, and you Zhangzhou cultivators lack high-level cultivators to suppress one side. You Zhangzhou cultivators and my Yuanchen Xiancheng formed an alliance, and in an instant they were the third place comparable to the Jiang family in Taizhou and the Ji family in Jingzhou. Great power. In this way, after we go there, the right to speak can be heavier." True monarch Yuanchen's words are quite straightforward. When everyone saw that Zhenjuan Yuanchen was so sincere and did not hide it, Zhou Mubai cupped his hands and said, "But since it is an alliance, there must be a leader, right?" Hear this. Zhenjuan Yuanchen said with a smile, "Why do you still want to order this old man? Don't dare." Zhou Mubai hurriedly bowed, then raised his head again, and said with a firm gaze, "But we Zhangzhou cultivators don't want to be betrayed." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian and the others all stood with Zhou Mubai and looked at Zhenjuan Yuanchen quietly. Everyone looked at each other for a while. Zhenjuan Yuanchen burst out laughing. "I heard before that in Yunshao Palace, you Zhangzhou cultivators dare to stand up to the pressure of Yin's family and scold Yi Wudao. I didn't believe it at the time, but now it seems that Yu He really has the guts." Hearing this, everyone bowed again, but their attitude remained firm. "That's it." Zhenjuan Yuanchen waved his hand. "The two of us have formed an alliance. After an incident, I will be the leader in the open, and we will discuss it in secret. How about that?" Hearing this, everyone laughed, cupped their hands and said, "Follow the instructions of the seniors." Zhenjuan Yuanchen shook his head with a smile. The arrogant spirit of the Zhangzhou cultivator made him even more satisfied. Although the Zhangzhou cultivator was somewhat arrogant, the most fearless person on the battlefield was the arrogant person. On the battlefield, the person who is most afraid of encountering is Yi Wudao, who runs away at a critical moment. Be a comrade in arms with an arrogant person. At least he will not betray you at a critical moment. Say it again. People with arrogance are basically cultivators with natural talent and evil spirits. With the eyes of true monarch Yuanchen, it is natural to see at a glance that these people present are either Jianxiu or Qianjiao on the Zifu Qianjiao list. Yuanchen Jinjuan was also on the Zifu Qianjiao list that year, and his ranking was still very high. He naturally knew that the genius and evildoer who could be listed on the Zifu Qianjiao ranking would be almost certain to break through to the golden core cultivation level, as long as he did not fall in the future. It is not impossible to even become the Yuanying Jinjuan like him. For this kind of junior cultivator with great potential, Zhenjuan Yuanchen naturally thinks highly of it, and even has a very kind attitude. If it were an ordinary Zifu cultivator who dared to talk to him like that, he would have slapped him to death long ago. Less than 10 days. The mighty Zhangzhou fleet finally arrived at its destination. The real Demon World passage in Taizhou is different from the newly formed passage in Demon Ape Mountain. The first is the location. The Taizhou passage is not on the seabed of Wuxia, but on a vast desert island. Of course, the current island can no longer be called a desert island. This island has long been cultivated by the Qianyuan Jianzong with a sixth-order spiritual vein, and various killing formations have been laid out to prevent the monsters from the opposite side of the passage from killing out. Usually, this island is a restricted area within a radius of 10,000 miles. Except for the location. The Taizhou Passage and the Magic Ape Mountain Passage are also different in size. Since the passage in the Demon Ape Mountain has just been formed, its size is only about 1 meter in diameter, and it can just pass through a person. And this passage also requires the cultivation of those who pass through. Because this passage of Demon Ape Mountain has just been formed, it is not very stable. If someone with a high cultivation base passes through, it is easy for the passage to collapse, causing the cultivator to be strangled by the power of space after the passage has collapsed. For now, the passage of Demonic Ape Mountain can only allow monks at or below the foundation building stage to pass through at most. But the Taizhou channel is different. Rather than calling it a channel, the Taizhou passage is better called the fusion of the two worlds. When the Zhangzhou cultivator and the Yuanshan Xianqing cultivator set foot on this vast deserted island, after passing through layers of inspection, they entered the formation. Everyone was stunned by the scene in front of them, different from the black hole-like passage that Chen Daoxian once saw. On this deserted island, Chen Daoxian saw the real demon world directly through the so-called passage. In other words, the real demon world is slowly integrating with this deserted island. The starting point of the fusion is the location of the Taizhou passage. Let's go. True monarch Yuanshan looked at the scene in front of him solemnly, and said solemnly, "Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 246. Wuxia, Taizhou. Over a desert island. Boom, boom, boom. Spirit boats ripped apart the sky and flew towards this deserted island. On the deserted island, all kinds of killing formations are densely covered. These formations shrouded the entire deserted island, and without the support of the internal monks, the external monks would never even take a step. Chen Daoxian and others entered the deserted island, where the Taizhou passage was located under the support of Qianyuan Jianzong cultivator. Just set foot on this desert island. A tense atmosphere enveloped everyone. Hurry up. New here, come and register with me. Don't be in a daze. In front of the Taizhou passage, the Jiang family cultivators and Qianyuan Jianzong cultivators in spirit armor were patrolling. The Zhangzhou cultivators and Jingzhou cultivators who came to support them were placed in the temporary military camp, under the support of the Qianyuan Jianzong cultivators. Through the channel, Chen Daoxian saw at the end of his line of sight, there was a towering city gate standing there. This city gate is too majestic, more majestic than all the immortal cities he has seen put together. Or, the immortal cities that Chen Daoxian saw on weekdays were ordinary places of business and trade. And this immortal city at the end of the line of sight is a war fortress dedicated to serving the war. And the two cannot be compared. What a majestic war fairy city! When Zhenjuan Yuanshan saw the immortal city opposite the passage, he said with emotion, "This immortal city is probably bigger than the immortal gates that are ranked in the front line of the Izumo kingdom. Senior has good eyesight." One of the Qianyuan Jianzong Jindan cultivators who was quoting them heard this and said with a smile, "This war fairy city was built by the strength of the Jiang family and Qianyuan Jianzong in Taizhou, and it took 100 years to build. In terms of the scale of Xiancheng, it is enough to compare to the top 3 Xiongguan in Izumo." Hearing this explanation, everyone nodded. "Senior, everyone, Hall Master Qin is still waiting for us in Weiyang Xiancheng." Hearing this, true monarch Yuanshan did not dare to neglect, and cupped his hands. "Fellow Taoist Shao, please, please, say it." Everyone no longer stayed and watched, and directly drove the light, and flew towards the Weiyang Xiancheng opposite the passage. The Taizhou passage and the Magic Ape Mountain passage are completely different. Chen Daoxian walked through the passage with everyone, but he didn't feel dizzy at all when he crossed the passage of Demon Ape Mountain. The two worlds merge. Chen Daoxian couldn't help but pour out this word in his heart. Only when the two worlds are merged will he not feel dizzy after crossing the boundary, otherwise he will feel dizzy even if he passes through the space passage, let alone the passage that crosses the two realms. After the other people passed through the Taizhou passage, their faces were also a little surprised, but when they saw that the Qianyuan Jianzong cultivator Zhou who came to greet everyone did not explain, everyone did not ask. It can be seen that under the cloud of war, every cultivator here is very nervous now. Gathering the power of the outside world of the three states and the Qianyuan sword sect, one can imagine how terrifying the power of this deserted island under the feet of everyone. In this level of war, even Jindan cultivators are insignificant. Only true monarch nascent soul can influence this level of war. After a few breaths, everyone finally set foot on Weiyang Xianqing. After crossing the Taizhou passage, everyone found that Weiyang Xianqing was bigger than everyone saw. Previously, due to channel restrictions, what everyone saw was only the tip of the iceberg of Weiyang Xianqing. Now that they have officially entered the real demon world through the Taizhou channel, everyone discovered how huge the Weiyang Immortal City is. When everyone entered the Weiyang Xianqing, the Xiao surnamed Jindan cultivator introduced, the Weiyang Xianqing alone has a wall length of more than 1,000 kilometers, and there are 36 Tiangang Acropolis and 72 Disha Acropolis attached to these acropolis. The formation that seals the sky and locks the earth not only protects Weiyang Immortal City, but also our outermost line of defense. Cultivator Xiao Jindan pointed to the 108 satellite immortal cities suspended outside Weiyang Immortal City. A weapon of war? Zhou Mubai looked at the 108 satellite immortal cities outside Weiyang Immortal City, and exclaimed in surprise. Right? Cultivator Xiao Jindan glanced at Zhou Mubai in surprise. After a while he seemed to recognize him and said with a smile, "You are Zhou Mubai, the 9th in the Zifu Tianjiao ranking, right?" Junior Zhou Mubai, I have met Senior Xiao. Zhou Mubai didn't dare to be arrogant, and hurriedly bowed and saluted. You are welcome. Cultivator Xiao Jindan waved his hand. Senior Yuanchen, everyone, the palace master Qin is in the palace in front of him, and he has defenses under him, so I won't send you off. Fellow Taoist Xiao is polite. Thank you, Senior. Yuanchen Jinjuan and the senior cultivators of Tsangzhou all bowed their hands to Cultivator Xiao Jindan and thanked him. The cultivator Xiao Jindan nodded, turned into a flash of light in public, and flew out of the fairy city. As he said, now the three state cultivators are all gathering towards the Taizhou channel. As the Jindan cultivator who guards Weiyang Xianqing all the year round, he is busier than anyone else at the moment. Being able to take such a long time to receive the crowd is mostly due to the face of Yuanchan Jinjuan, the Yuaning cultivator. Otherwise only Chen Daoxian and others would come, and there would definitely be no Jindan cultivator to come to them. Even Chen Daoxian and Zhou Mubai were not even qualified to enter the main hall to discuss matters. Regardless of the large number of monks sent by the major immortal clans in Tsangzhou, it is also true that there are no high-level monks in Tsangzhou. Whether it is the Zhang family in Taizhou or the Ji family in Jingzhou, they are both famous Yuanying families, and they are not comparable to the scattered immortal clans in Tsangzhou. This is also the reason why Tsangzhou cultivator agreed to cooperate with Yuanchen Jinjuan. Rather than being dispatched by the Zhang family in Taizhou and the Ji family in Jingzhou, it is better to rely on Jinjuan Yuanchen, a loose cultivator. At least their Tsangzhou cultivators will not be used as cannon fodder by the other two Yuanying families in the war. Coming. Have not yet entered the hall. A majestic voice sounded in the sea of consciousness of everyone. Chen Daoxian instantly recognized that this was the voice of Qin Zhan, the master of Zhenhai Palace. Compared with the cynicism of the Qin Palace master in his impression, the Zhenhai Palace master's tone was much more serious this time. Obviously, the trouble they encountered this time was not small. Everyone responded and entered the hall. Entering the hall, everyone saw that the hall was already full of monks. The monks in the hall are at least at the Jindan stage. From their sitting positions, it can be roughly distinguished that the monks in the hall are roughly divided into three camps. They were the Taizhou cultivator camp headed by the Zhang family, the Jingzhou cultivator camp headed by the Ji family, and the Qianyuan Jianzong cultivator headed by the Zhenhai Palace hallmaster. As true monarch Yuanchen entered the hall, it was barely counted as the fourth camp. It's just that this fourth camp is quite shabby. Apart from Yuanshan Jinjuan, the Yuanying cultivator, only his eldest disciple has reached the Jindan cultivation base. As for the Zhangzhou cultivator, there is not even a Jindan. Since fellow Taoist Yuanshan is here, let's start our battle meeting. Qin Zhan, who was sitting high, glanced at Jinjuan Yuanshan. Yuanshan Jinjuan and Zhangzhou cultivator bowed their hands to the crowd and sat down in their seats. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace continued. Everyone, please take a look. He waved his hand, and a curtain of light appeared in the center of the hall. On the light curtain, a giant city surrounded by chess pea-sized satellite immortal cities appeared at one end, and at the other end, there was a continuous country of world demons, the Qingqiu Demon Country. Weiyang Immortal City and our Tiangang Disha Acropolis control a total area of thousands of miles around the Taizhou Passage, and out of the Acropolis is the Qingqiu Demon Kingdom. The Qingqiu Demon Country is a demon country established by the Qingqiu Demon Lord. The Qingqiu Demon Lord's body is a nine-tailed celestial fox clan, and later became a world demon by cultivating the unique method of origin. As one of the many demon kingdoms in the real demon world, the Qingqiu Demon Country is nothing to be afraid of. With the power of the Weiyang Fairy City, it can be completely resisted. But according to the detailed report we planted in the Qingqiu Demon Nation, a remarkable treasure has recently been born in the Qingqiu Demon Nation. Speaking of this, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace said in a single word, "The source world left by a true immortal level demon." What? The source world left by the real fairy level demon? Hearing this, the monks in the hall below the Jindan stage didn't react much, but several true monarchs of nascent soul exclaimed in surprise. Obviously, the origin of this true immortal level world demon is no trivial matter. Zhangzhou camp. Chen Daoxian and his group frowned. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace did not give up and explained, "As we all know, the way of cultivation of world demons is different from that of our monks. They do not follow the way of qi or body. The way of the world monsters practice is called the law of the source world. The so-called source world method is that the world monster cultivates a new world within the body, and the strength of the world monster will continue to improve with the growth of this Fengyuan world. The Jieyuanju we harvested after beheading the realm demon is the source of the realm demon." Hearing this, everyone nodded. These are some common sense things. Maybe the bottom cultivators of Wan Xinghai don't know much, but those who can sit here are at least the helms of the overlord-level forces of a government. They don't know everything about the common sense of the world demon, but they have basically heard of it. Seeing everyone nodding, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace continued. Generally speaking, after the death of a weak world demon, the source world will quickly turn into chaos, so the Jiuan beads we got in our hands are all gray and gray, filled with the chaotic aura of the destruction of the world. However, with the improvement of the power of the world demon, it will take longer and longer for the source world left behind after its death to turn into chaos. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian froze in his heart. He suddenly thought of the Zifu-level world monster that his clone killed in Dayuan. It seemed that the other party's Jiuanzu slowly returned to chaos for a long time after being taken out. This is still the case with the Zifu-level world demon. But what about the true immortal level world demon? The way of refining qi and the way of refining body becomes immortal. The soul is pure yang, and the immortal body is immortal. What will happen if the method of the source world becomes a true immortal? It may be too exaggerated that the source world is a world by itself, but the speed of the destruction of the real immortal world, the demon source world, must be very long. The source world left by the true immortal level world demon is enough to remain immortal for tens or even millions of years without external interference. The master of Zhenhai Palace looked around at everyone, and the origin of the Qingqiu Demon Kingdom was born from a true immortal level world demon who has fallen for an unknown number of years. In the main hall, the monks with lower cultivation bases did not feel much, but the Zhang family and Ji family's several nascent soul true monarchs were all excited, and could not wait to immediately enter the source world left by the true immortal level demons to explore. But immediately these 5 Yuanying true monarchs seemed to think of something, and their faces were hard to look at. Palace Master Qin, below Zhang Laozu, who was wearing a black Taoist robe, said, "Since the true immortal level origin world was born, there must be a lot of demon masters who went to the Qingqiu Demon Nation to seize the opportunity this time?" "It's a lot." Qin Zhan nodded. "As far as I know, There are the 7 demon masters of the lion and camel demon country, the 3 demon lords of the extreme night demon country, and the 5 demon lords of the Qingqiu demon country. Hearing this, Zhang Laozu frowned suddenly. Strange, among the 3 demon kingdoms adjacent to the Qingqiu demon kingdom, the Great Yuan demon kingdom is the strongest. Why didn't the Great Yuan demon kingdom send demons this time? The Lord is coming? I don't know. The hall master of Zhenhai Hall shook his head. This was also what he was most worried about. Within the area of 1 million miles in Weiyang Xiancheng, there were 4 major demon kingdoms, namely Lion Camel Demon Country, Qingqiu Demon Country, Dayuan Demon Country, and Jia Demon Country. Among the 4 major demon nations, the Great Yuan Demon Nation is the strongest. There are more than 10 demon masters alone, and it is the only one among the 4 major demon nations that has more than 2-digit demon masters. But this time the Great Yuan Demon Nation did not send the demon master here. The Qianyuan sword sect had the intention to find out, but the Dayuan Demon Country and Weiyang Immortal City were separated by a Qingqiu Demon Country. The Qianyuan sword sect's undercover agent wanted to pass through the Qingqiu Demon Country and enter the Dayuan Demon Country to investigate in detail. No doubt. A fool's dream. After all, it is different from the spies sent to Izumo. This is the real monster world. All the monsters active in this world are world monsters. Even if there are human races, it is the ration of world monsters. Qianyuan Jianzong wants to develop detailed works here, and the difficulty can be imagined. Inside the Zhangzhou camp, Chan Daoxian, who had been silent for a long time, heard that the demon lord of Dayuan did not send a demon master, and his heart moved slightly. No. Because of his avatar, right? His avatar had been beheading and killing world monsters in the Great Yuan Demon Country before, causing great waves in the Great Yuan Country. More importantly, the demon lord of the Great Yuan dynasty sent the demon lord to arrest his clone several times, but none of them were caught. This made the demon masters of the Great Yuan Demon Nation a little unable to sit still. As a demon country force, a thief came into my house and kept attacking and beheading my own low-level world demon. Who can resist this kind of digging the foundation of one's own family? In particular, Chen Daoxian beheading a Zifu-level world demon queen completely touched the bottom line of the Great Yuan Demon Nation. Ask yourself if there is a thief near Chen Shuanghu Island who specializes in attacking and killing his own chi-refining cultivator. Chen Daoxian will find this thief even if he digs 3 feet into the ground. Who cares about winning treasures and opportunities? Inside the hall, when the Yuanian cultivators heard that the Great Yuan Demon Nation did not send a demon master, their hearts sank slightly. The most worrying thing is not the number of enemies, but the powerful enemies waiting for the opportunity like poisonous snakes, and I don't know when they will give you a fatal blow. This time, a stern-faced nascent soul cultivator from the G family said. So, there are 15 nascent soul-level demon masters on the upper-level demon side, and we only have 7 nascent soul true monarchs? The hall master of Zhenhai Hall nodded. That's true. Hearing this, Zhenjuan Yuanshan also frowned. Palace Master Qin? Does Qianyuan Jianzong have no backup? No, Qin Zhan shook his head and said with deep eyes. But you have made a mistake. We are facing the forces of the 3 major demon kingdoms, not the 15 world demons. Hearing this, all the Yuanian cultivators couldn't help but be stunned. Indeed, the battles between the major demon kingdoms in the real demon world are no worse than the battles between the sects in the immortal world. Even the war between the real demon world and the demon kingdom is more cruel. You must know that the world monsters can not only devour the human race, but also each other. Perhaps the characteristics of the law of the source world are destined to be difficult for the world monsters to fully unite together. It is already very rare for the demon masters to open up a demon kingdom and form a party. If they want to completely unify the real demon world, it is almost a dream. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 247. Weiyang Xiancheng. Inside the hall. When the cultivators heard the words of the hall master of Zhenhai Palace, a ridiculous thought appeared in their hearts. True monarch Yuanshan cupped his hands and said hesitantly, what the hall master Qin means is. Qin Zhan stood up from his seat. I mean, instead of sitting in Weiyang Xiancheng, we should take the initiative to attack. Take the initiative to attack? Ancestor Jiang frowned. The rest of the nascent soul cultivators also frowned and said nothing. True monarch Yuanshan said with a solemn expression, I don't know how Hall Master Qin plans to take the initiative to attack? Qin Zhang glanced at true monarch Yuanshan, then glanced at other Yuanying monks and said, I know you are worried that after the 3 demon masters gather in Qingqiu demon country, it will be detrimental to my Weiyang Xiancheng, and even take the opportunity to join together. Send troops to attack Wan Xinghai. But in my opinion, the possibility of such a situation is extremely small. The frequency of battles between the 3 demon kingdoms of Qingqiu, Jia and Shihua is no less than the battle between us and the Qingqiu demon kingdom. In addition, the great Yuan demon nation has a tiger's eye on the side. These 3 major demon countries will definitely not fight with us, so as not to be taken advantage of by the great Yuan demon nation after losing both. Hearing this analysis, Zhang Laozu nodded. The disputes between the 4 demon kingdoms, the Zhang family has guarded Weiyang Xianqing for so many years. It is much clearer than Songzhou and Jingzhou cultivators. It can be said that the contradiction between these 4 demon kingdoms is no less than the contradiction between Qingqiu demon kingdom and Weiyang fairy city, and even bigger, because Weiyang Xianqing is just a defensive Xianqing after all. The purpose of Qinyuan Jianzong for so many years is to build a fairy city at the entrance of the real demon world to prevent the monsters from invading the Wangxinghai. Qinyuan Jianzong itself has no plans to invade the real monster world. After all, the Qinyuan sword sect and the Izumo kingdom are still at war, and a normal-minded force will not do such a thing as a 2-front war. As if thinking of something, Zhang Laozu cupped his hands and said, But if we do this, will it irritate the major demon nations? You must know that over the years our Weiyang Xianqing has been keeping a low profile, and we have maintained a relatively stable situation with the other 3 demon nations. If we rashly intervene this time, will it lead to a rebound from the forces of the demon nations? What is true is false, what is false is true. The hall master of Zhenhai Hall shook his head. It is precisely because the strength of our Weiyang Xianqing on the bright side is not as strong as that of the major demon nations combined, so we must maintain our strength. Otherwise, once we show a weak posture, we will really suffer the catastrophe. Hearing Qin Zhang's words, old ancestor Zhang did not know what to think, and his heart froze, so he no longer objected. Jingzhou Jie's family and Songzhou cultivator knew little about the situation here in Weiyang Xianqing. Seeing that Zhang's family, who had been guarding this place all the year round, did not object, there was no reason to object. Glancing at everyone, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace said, Since everyone does not object, then take the initiative to attack. Take the initiative to attack. Take the initiative to attack. In the hall, a Qinyuan Jianzong cultivator quickly shouted after Qin Zhan, and then took the initiative to attack these 4 words, resounding through the hall. Chen Daoxian looked at the emotional crowd and said nothing. On this occasion, not to mention the small Shuanghu Islandshan family, even the entire Songzhou cultivator group did not have much say. Who made Songzhou cultivator the weakest among the 3 states? The Songzhou cultivators were able to attend as non-voting delegates, which was already considered a face for them. If you speak in public again, you will be a little confused. The hall master of Zhenhai Hall pressed his hand, and the blood-straining shouts in the hall suddenly stopped. Qin Zhan continued, Since we are taking the initiative to attack, we must also list a charter. Dao Zhang, what do you think? Ancestor Zhang cupped his hands and said humbly, Everything is at the command of Hall Master Qin. Okay. Qin Zhan is no longer polite. I plan to arrange monks below the Zifu period to participate in the competition for the treasures in the Qingqiu Demon Kingdom's true immortal origin realm. But, will the demon masters of the 3 major demon kingdoms agree? Of course they will agree, and they have to agree if they disagree. Qin Zhan sneered. Although the true immortal level source world can be immortal for hundreds of thousands of years, this is only under normal circumstances. If there are more than 20 nascent soul level monks fighting in this source world, what do you think about this source world? How will the world be? Zhenjuan Yuanshan nodded. I'm afraid it will collapse in an instant, turning into chaos. It seems that they will indeed agree. Ancestor Zhang and Ancestor Ji nodded in succession. Qin Zhan added, Furthermore, our nascent soul cultivator has another advantage of not entering the source realm, that is, we can withdraw to Weiyang Xianqing at any time. At that time, with the defense of Weiyang Immortal City, Even if the demon masters of the 4 major demon kingdoms attack jointly, we can still insist on the rescue of Zhongmen. Hearing this, the cultivators were convinced by Qin Zhan's arrangement that he could attack, retreat, and defend. In fact, after learning that Qingqiu Yaoguo's true immortal origin realm was born, the true monarch nascent soul who was present at the scene was a little overwhelmed. The reason why they didn't take the initiative to attack was because they were worried that this move would lead to the fall of Weiyang Xiancheng. When Qinyuan Jianzong convicted, they would lose more than their gains. Now that the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace has offered to compete for the treasure, the nascent soul cultivators who were present were eager to applaud, and no one would really object. The battle meeting lasted for more than an hour before it was completely dismissed. Out of the hall, Chen Daoxian and his party of Cangzhou cultivators followed closely behind true monarch Yuanchen and flew to a mansion in Xiancheng specially arranged for true monarch Yuanying. Inside the fairy mansion, after Zhenjuan Yuanchen took his seat, he smiled and said, "Stop standing, just sit." "Thank you, senior." Chen Daoxian and the others looked at each other, bowed their hands to thank them and took their seats. Senior, as soon as Daoist Hualing sat down, he couldn't wait to say, "What does Hall Master Qin mean today is that he wants me to wait for the cultivators of Zifu to go to Zhengxianyuan realm to capture treasures?" True monarch Yuanchen held a cup of spiritual tea and said with a smile, "Not only the cultivators of the Zifu, but also the cultivators of the Foundation establishment." Foundation monk? Chen Daoxian, who had been silent all this time, raised his head in surprise. He originally thought that this matter had nothing to do with him anyway. He was not a cultivator of Zifu, so it would never be his turn to take risks in the source realm. Although all the nascent soul cultivators were jealous of this real fairyland, Chen Daoxian didn't care. If it weren't for the summoning order of Qianyuan Jianzong this time, it would be difficult to disobey. Chen Daoxian didn't want to come here at all. Not to mention the danger of the real demon world. Can the so-called chance here be compared to the trial inheritance of Wan Xinghai? Chen Daoxian retreated in the Magic Monkey Mountain. He was at a time when his strength was advancing by leaps and bounds, so he would rather go out and take risks. But no matter how daring the Chen family was, they did not dare to disobey the orders of Qianyuan Jianzong. "Yes, base-building cultivator." True monarch Yuanchen nodded. Palace Master Qin intends to arrange 1,000 Zifu monks and 10,000 foundation-building monks to go to the true immortal origin realm to explore. Senior. Zhou Mubai cupped his hands. Junior took the liberty to ask, "What treasures are there in this true immortal level source realm, which is worthy of the Qianyuan sword sect's such a big fight?" Hear this. Zhenjuan Yuanchen was silent for a moment, then looked around and said, "You should all know that the cultivation of the origin of the world demon is to give birth to a complete world in the body, right?" Everyone nodded. "And the world monster wants to breed a world. At the beginning, it only needs to swallow all kinds of blood food. For example, the world monster loves to swallow the human race, which is the spirit of all things." Zhenjuan Yuanchen paused. But as the source realm in the demon's body continues to grow, it is not enough to just swallow all kinds of blood food. To put it simply, nurturing the source world is like building a house. At first, they only need to pile up violently to make the house bigger and more spacious, but as the house gets bigger and bigger, it becomes more and more prone to collapse. At this time, it is necessary to fill the beams and skeletons for the house. Law of the Great Way? Zhou Mubai caught something in an instant. Yes, the law of the avenue. Zhenjuan Yuanchen nodded. Chen Daoxian was taken aback. This statement deviates from the statement of Luo Shuyan, the head of the Merman clan. Luo Shuyan said at the beginning that the world demon can always become stronger as long as it keeps swallowing it. But according to Zhenjuan Yuanchen, it is obviously not that simple. Chen Daoxian prefers true monarch Yuanchen in his heart. If the world monster really doesn't need to understand the Tao, and can only become stronger by swallowing it blindly, who can resist the temptation of such a terrifying method of cultivation? Although Chen Daoxian didn't know whether the human race could practice the method of the origin of the world demon, but if he wanted to come to this method to be so perverted, there would definitely be countless monks who went one after another to improve the method of the source world suitable for the monks of the human race. It is clear. The method of the origin of the world monster's cultivation must be inferior to the human race's way of refining qi and refining the body. In other words, both have their pros and cons. Even the human race's way of refining qi is even better. True monarch Yuanshin continued. The world monsters are probably cultivating to the point where they are equivalent to the human race Jindan cultivators, and they will begin to fill the source world in the body with the laws of the Tao. Zhou Mubai frowned. Senior, do you mean that the realm demon will fill the source realm with the realization of the Tao law that he has comprehended? That's right. Xinjuan Yuanshin gave Zhou Mubai a teachable look. This time, everyone finally knew why the nascent soul cultivator in the hall was so excited. If there is no accident, since the Tao law in the source world can be realized, it must be able to be taken out. Really? True monarch Yuanshin said. Whether it is the demon masters of the major demon kingdoms, or us true monarchs of nascent soul, they are all interested in the laws of the great Tao in the true immortal level source world. Hearing this, Henry Zhang frowned and said, but this true immortal level world demon has been dead for many years. Will there still be the Tao law in the source world it left behind? There must be. True monarch Yuanshin firmly said. If the Tao law does not exist, even the real immortal level source world will collapse in an instant, and it will never last for so long. Road rule. Everyone's mood was a little heavy. The cultivation of human race monks has always been to comprehend the Tao outside and cultivate oneself inside. But the avenue is vague. How easy is it to comprehend? Whether you enter the Tao with swords or enter the Tao with techniques, you will find that when you reach a certain level of practice, you will find that the two have the same goal in different ways, and they are essentially comprehension of the Tao. And if you want to comprehend the laws of the Tao more smoothly, in addition to relying on your own understanding, there is another way, that is, to make the Tao appear more clearly in front of you. The method of improving understanding is not common in the world of immortals. Even if there are some treasures that can temporarily improve the understanding of monks, most of them can be found. And it is even more nonsense to let the Tao clearly appear in front of the monk. This kind of treasure is rarer than the treasure that enhances the cultivator's comprehension. Coincidentally, the Tao law in the source world left by the high-level demons is such a treasure. Of course, the Tao laws left by the world demon are generally not very useful, because in the same rank, the world monster's understanding of the Tao law is not as good as that of the human race cultivator. Even the Tao principles left by the demon lord are just tasteless to true monarch nascent soul. But the origin realm where the Qingqiu demon nation was born was different. It was left by the real fairy level realm demon. True immortal level world demons are 3 realms higher than Yuanying monks, and even if true immortal level world monsters have a low understanding of the Tao law, they are far from what Yuanying Xinjuan can match. This kind of treasure, may I ask which monk is not moved? Unfortunately, once the Tao law in the source world is taken out, it will eventually dissipate in the world, even if it is a true immortal level world demon. Speaking of this, Zhenjuan Yuanshin shook his head. Speaking of which, the world monsters have a much greater advantage than our human cultivators in this regard. They can directly swallow the Tao law left by the other party. Just go back and slow down. Digest slowly. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't help but wonder. Then can we use the Jiuanzu to store the Tao law? Of course not. True monarch Yuanshin said with a smile, your idea, Qianyuan Jianzong has already tried it. And it turns out that only living demons can swallow the Tao laws left by other demons. Taoist Hualing's eyes lit up and said, since this is the case, why don't we control a high-level world demon, let it swallow the Tao law, and then supply my human race monks to practice? Zhenjuan Yuanshin said with a smile, this idea is not bad. But are you willing to practice in the belly of the world demon? When Taoist Hualing heard the words, he smiled and stopped talking. If you want to collect the Tao law left by the world monster, you can only rely on it. Zhenjuan Yuanshin stretched out his palm, and a quaint mini stone tablet appeared in his palm. Who knows? Zhou Mubai's expression changed suddenly when he saw this mini stone tablet, and he exclaimed, stone tablet on the avenue. Hearing this, Zhenjuan Yuanshin looked at Zhou Mubai deeply and said, as expected of the Tianjiao ranked 9th in the Zifu Tianjiao list, but you are mistaken, this is not a stone tablet, but a stone carved on the road. He paused. After collecting the Tao law with the carved Tao stone, it is the Tao stone steel. Hear this. The face of Taoist Hualing suddenly showed a look of surprise. It turns out, that's how the stone tablet of Qianyuan Jianzong came from. After hearing Zhenjuan Yuanshin explain so much, The Zhangzhou Tianjiao present still didn't know what the other party was thinking. Yuanshan Zhenjuan wants everyone, no to be precise. He wants Zhou Mubai to help him collect the Dao Law left by the true immortal level source world. Even if Chen Daoxian guessed correctly, this true monarch Yuanshan probably already knew what the treasure born in the Qingqiu Demon Kingdom was. The Zhangzhou cultivator was not aware of this news, because the Zhangzhou cultivator's cultivation base was low, and Qianyuan Jianzong would definitely not disclose the news to them in advance. And Yuanshan Jinjuan, as a Yuanian cultivator, must know a lot more than everyone else. He caught up with the Zhangzhou cultivator halfway to seek cooperation, and most of them came for Zhou Mubai. True monarch Yuanshan knew that with Qin Zhan's temperament, it was impossible to guard Weiyang Xiancheng, and he would definitely take the initiative to attack. Since they are taking the initiative to attack, they need a slightly lower cultivator to fight for the treasures in the source world for them. The cultivation base of Jindan cultivator is a bit high, the cultivation base of the foundation building cultivator is slightly insufficient, and the cultivation base of the Zifu cultivator is just right. The development of things was just as Zhenjuan Yuanshan had guessed. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace really chose to let the cultivators of Zifu compete for the treasure. At this time, a Zifu cultivator who is 9th on the Zifu Tianjiao list can play a big role. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 248. Zhenjuan Yuanshan looked at Zhou Mubai with a smile, and said, Zhou Xiao, Senior. Zhou Mubai bowed, his face was calm, and he couldn't tell what he was thinking. At this point I don't hide it from Xiao Yuzhou. It was false that I sought cooperation with the Zhangzhou cultivator before, and it is true that I wanted Xiao Yuzhou to go to the true immortal origin realm for me to capture the Dao Law. Zhenjuan Yuanshan looked at Zhou Mubai intently, and said with a smile, I don't know. Is Zhou Xiaoyu willing to take a shot for this old man? This? Zhou Mubai frowned and looked hesitant. Anyone who is calculated like this will definitely feel uncomfortable, even if this is the famous Yuaning Zhenjuan. Zhou Mubai was ranked 9th in the Zifu Tianjiao list, even more so. Seeing that Zhou Mubai refused to let go, Zhenjuan Yuanshan began to put out his bid. As long as Zhou Xiaoyu is willing to take action for me, I will definitely thank you afterward. Say it. Zhenjuan Yuanshan patted the storage bag on his waist, and saw a red jade plaque inscribed with complex patterns flying out. This is the Qi Feather Immortal Order of my Yuanshan Xiancheng. Seeing Qiyu Immortal Order, Zhou Mubai was startled, and looked at Zhenjuan Yuanshan with a shocked expression. The Qi Feather Immortal Token is a special token created by true monarch Yuanshan, after he created the foundation of Yuanshan Immortal City. There is not much surprise in this token itself, but with this token it is possible to mobilize the forces of Yuanshan Xiancheng, including Yuanshan Zhenjuan, to make a move for him. The weight of this token is not too heavy. It has been hundreds of years since Yuanshan Immortal City was established. A total of 7 Qiyu Immortal Orders were sent out, and 5 of them were taken back by Yuanshan Zhenjuan. It can be seen from this. Yuanshan Xianjun and his subordinate Yuanshan Xiancheng are very trustworthy. In fact, credit is also the foundation for Yuanshan Xiancheng to stand up to this day. Because for the loose cultivator group, credit is the most important thing. If Yuanshan Xiancheng acted domineeringly and betrayed its promises, it would be absolutely impossible to get so many scattered cultivators. From the fact that Yuanshan Zhenjuan sent 7 Akabane Immortal Orders to the outside world, and he has kept his promise and done 5 things for others within his power, we can see how good Yuanshan Zhenjuan's reputation is. Even if you count the Scarlet Feather Immortal Token he is giving now, there are only 3 Scarlet Feather Immortal Tokens circulating in Yuanshan Xiancheng. A Akabane Immortal Token may be of little value to a loose cultivator, but for a cultivator family power, it means that there will be an extra nascent soul true monarch and a huge immortal city behind it. The Zhou family seized the throne of the number 1 family in Zhangzhou. How could Zhou Mubai not be moved? Seeing the shocked expression on Zhou Mubai's face, Xianjun Yuanshan smiled and said, As long as you can capture the Dao Law left over from the true immortal origin realm for me, this Qi Feather Immortal Order belongs to your Zhou family. In addition, my Yuanshan Immortal City will also give you various resources worth more than 10 billion spirit stones, and your Zhou family members can come to my Yuanshan Immortal City to choose by yourself. A Akabane Immortal Order. plus a resource worth 10 billion spirit stones. These two conditions, no matter which one it is, are enough to make the Zhou family's heart move. The Red Feather Immortal Order meant that there was a nascent soul cultivator behind the Zhou family from now on, and the resources worth tens of billions of spirit stones had a greater effect on the Zhou family at this stage. As we all know, if a cultivator family wants to grow and develop, resources are the most important thing. Because only with sufficient resources, the strength of the family cultivator will steadily increase. Whether it is cultivating spiritual veins, developing the size of the family population, operating family industries, and cultivating family monks, all of them are inseparable from resources. And the resources of tens of billions of spirit stones will undoubtedly give the Zhou family the wings to take off. In terms of family profitability, the Chun family on Shuanghu Island is currently the top family in Songzhou at present, even more profitable than the Zhou family in Guang'an Prefecture. Even so, the Chun family earned less than 500 million spirit stones last year after deducting the family's various expenses. Not to mention the Zhou family of Guang'an House, whose profitability is not as good as that of the Chun family. The current Zhou family, after deducting the various consumptions of the clan, can earn a pure profit of 100 million spirit stones a year and burn high incense. The resources of 10 billion spirit stones are equivalent to the accumulation of the Zhou family for 100 years. Such a terrifying amount of resources can only be taken out by true monarch Yuanqin, who holds an immortal city with a population of tens of millions. If I were to be any nascent soul cultivator, I'm afraid I wouldn't be able to come up with such a large sum of money. Loose cultivator, nascent soul cultivator need not say more. In Wanxinghai, the loose cultivators of Yuanying are basically the guests of Qinyuan Jianzong, and the salary they receive from Qinyuan Jianzong every year is only enough for their cultivation needs. If you want to earn more spirit stones, you have to rely on your own private work. But how many private jobs does a nascent soul cultivator have to take to earn 10 billion spirit stones? The situation of the Yuanying monks trained by Qinyuan Jianzong since childhood is basically the same. Although their salaries are a little higher than those of the loose cultivators, they are also limited. It's just that most of these nascent soul cultivators are inextricably related to Wanxinghai's immortal cultivation clan, and they can share an extra income from these immortal cultivation clan. It has to be said that he is much richer than the loose cultivator Yuanying cultivator. But no matter how rich they are, few of them can come up with a huge sum of 10 billion spirit stones. In addition to the Yuanying monks of Qinyuan Jianzong, Wanxinghai also has a kind of Yuanying monks, that is, the Yuanying monks in the Xiuxian family, such as the ancestors of the Zhang family in Taizhou, and the ancestors of the Ji family in Jingzhou. In terms of resource mobilization ability, the ancestor of the Zhang family is indeed much stronger than an ordinary Yuanying Xinjuan in Qinyuan Jianzong. But these resources are theoretically owned by the entire Zhang family. Even old ancestor Zhang would not be able to use all the spiritual stones and resources of the Zhang family to pay for him personally. This is the same even for Chen Daoxian, who has absolute power and prestige in the Chen family. If Chen Daoxian smashed all the spiritual stones and resources of the family into it for his own sake, the cultivator of the Chen family would definitely have complaints in his heart if he didn't say it. Not to mention the powers of other immortal clans, it is impossible for Chen Daoxian to have the prestige of Chen Daoxian in the Chen family. But Zhenjuan Yuanqin is different. First of all, he is an unrestrained loose cultivator, and secondly, Yuanqin Xianqing belongs to him personally. Even if he packaged and sold Yuanqin Xianqing, no one could accuse him of anything. I have to say that true monarch Yuanqin, who can build a huge immortal city at the junction of the three states, is the only one among Yuanying monks in terms of wealth. In front of the other side, the Chen family, who is in the middle of fighting for gold, is far from enough to see. Okay. After all, Zhou Mubai couldn't resist the price offered by true monarch Yuanqin, and reached out to take the quaint engraved stone. Seeing Zhou Mubai taking the engraved stone, Zhenjuan Yuanqin nodded with a smile. This old man is waiting for your triumph. Inherit the auspicious words of seniors. Zhou Mubai bowed his hands solemnly. Immediately, Zhenjuan Yuanqin looked at Henry Zhang and Taoist Hualing again, and asked with a smile, "Where are you two?" Taoist Hualing swallowed unconsciously and said, "Senior is also willing to give us this price?" Yuanqin Zhenjuan shook his head. It is extremely difficult to collect the Dao Law. But there is more than one Tao law in the true immortal origin realm. You can focus on the next level Tao law. Therefore, the price I will give you is lower, and there are only various resources worth 1 billion spirit stones. Hear this. Taoist Huiling was a little unhappy, and the feeling was that he despised him and Henry Zhang. But thinking of Zhou Mubai's perverted strength, Taoist Huiling was relieved. Although everyone is a cultivator on the Zifu Tianjiao list, Zhou Mubai's strength is obviously much higher than that of him and Henry Zhang. He estimated that Zhou Mubai, who created his own sword art, was probably not inferior to the weaker Jindan cultivator in terms of strength. Okay. Before waiting for Taoist Huiling to speak, Henry Zhang nodded in agreement. Seeing Henry Zhang agreeing, Taoist Huiling could only nod his head. 2 more cultivators from the Zifu Tianjiao list agreed to help him capture the Tao law, and true monarch Yuanshan was even more satisfied. Unsurprisingly, the 3 cultivators of the Zifu Tianjiao ranking list will definitely be able to achieve something in the real fairyland. Although the human race monks said that they would send 1,000 Zifu monks, with the strength of Zhou Mubai, the 3 arrogant Zifu monks, they dared not say that it is indeed possible to fight 100 against 100. Aside, Chen Daoxian seems to be forgotten by everyone. Zhou Mubai glanced at him and wanted to say something, but he didn't say anything after all. Yuanshan Jinjuan continued. There are 3 kinds of the most valuable treasures in the true immortal origin realm, and the first one is naturally the Tao law. The second-ranked treasure is called blood marrow, which is the treasure of body refining. The third-ranked treasure is called primordial qi essence, which is a treasure that can directly improve the cultivator's qi cultivation. In addition to the Tao law, the remaining 2 treasures, no matter how much you obtain, are considered as your own gains. Whether it is traded with others or used by your own family cultivators, you are all at your own disposal. Really? Taoist Huiling's eyes lit up. Dianzhu Qin's own voice transmission, how can there be fakes? Hearing this news, not only Taoist Huiling, but even Zhou Mubai was faintly excited. Although he is said to be the 9th cultivator on the Zifu Tianjiao list, in fact, his cultivation base is only the 4th floor of Zifu. This is the result of his desperate use of various precious elixir with the support of his family. Zhou Mubai's rise didn't take long. Although he has practiced for dozens or hundreds of years, his real rise was only after he realized the sword intent. This period of time, strictly speaking, was less than 50 years. In 50 years, not only from the foundation cultivation practice to the 4th floor of the Purple Mansion, but also the swordsmanship has reached the realm of sword intent, and he has created his own swordsmanship and perfected his own swordsmanship. This kind of achievement, even if it is compared among all the cultivators of the Zifu of Qianyuan Jianzong, is still among the top ones. Although Zhou Mubai also practiced the way of body, the main way of practice was still the way of qi. Therefore, when Zhou Mubai heard the essence of vitality that could directly improve his cultivation, Zhou Mubai couldn't hold back his excitement. His kendo has already reached the 3rd level. Logically speaking, as long as the cultivation level is sufficient, he can break through the golden core now. But unfortunately, his realm improved too fast, and his cultivation was a drag. In the world of immortals, this situation is extremely rare. Generally speaking, at the beginning of a monk's practice, his cultivation base improved faster than his realm. Among the cultivators in the qi refining period, how many people can understand what the Tao realm is? Even Zhou Mubai only realized the meaning of the sword during the foundation building period, and stepped into the threshold of swordsmanship. Even so, his Tao realm at that time was lower than his own cultivation. It was not until he entered the Zifu cultivation base and the Kendo realm advanced by leaps and bounds that the Tao realm surpassed his own cultivation realm. Compared with Zhou Mubai, Chan Daoxuan's situation is more serious. He understood the sword intent during the qi refining period, and stepped into the threshold of the sword way. That is to say, Chen Daoxuan's realm was already equal to his cultivation level during the qi refining period. And at the foundation building stage, his swordsmanship level has soared, but his cultivation has been slow to keep up. Although Chen Daoxuan's speed of improving his cultivation was already at the level of an evildoer in the eyes of other foundation building cultivators, he was helpless to improve his realm faster. Actually, this is not a good thing. When a cultivator is on the way to practice, if his realm is not enough, he will encounter a bottleneck in the breakthrough of his own cultivation, And if his cultivation is not enough, the comprehension of the Tao seems to be separated by a layer of veil, and the difficulty soars. Amongst cultivation and realm have always been two things that complement each other. This is also the reason why the gap between the monks became smaller and smaller when they reached the Jindan stage or even the nascent soul stage. Because of the cultivation of nascent soul, the realm of monks is basically the same as that of cultivation. Those who can cultivate in the nascent soul, and achieve the cultivation of the realm leading the realm are indeed the evildoers among the evildoers. Don't look at Zhou Mubai's current position as the 9th in the Zifu Tianjiao ranking, and his realm is temporarily ahead of his cultivation, but when he breaks through to the golden core stage it would be good if his realm and cultivation are on the same level. As for the nascent soul stage, whether Zhou Mubai can cultivate to that level is a matter of two things. Compared to Zhou Mubai, it was Chen Daoxian who really felt a headache because of his cultivation. Because of the existence of the Hongmeng Enlightenment Classic, Chen Daoxian's speed in comprehending the Tao was destined to be faster than the speed at which he improved his cultivation. In the world of cultivating immortals, the only way to quickly improve one's cultivation is undoubtedly to devour elixir. But even if Chen Daoxian devoured the elixir crazily, he still couldn't keep up with the speed of the improvement of the Great Tao realm, so that his Siyu sword intent was still stuck at the peak of the second level, unable to advance an inch. This is also the reason why he chose to find another way to understand the space-like sword intent. Anyway, his speed in comprehending sword intent is fast enough, and his cultivation is slow to improve. It is better to comprehend one more sword intent. I just didn't expect that Chen Daoxian, with the blessing of 30 times his comprehension, realized the complete spatial sword intent, which was an unexpected surprise. Now when Chen Daoxian heard that there was a treasure that directly improved his cultivation in the real immortal level Juan, how could he remain calm? Look at the excited crowd. True monarch Yuanshan frowned and said, "Don't be in a hurry to be happy. When you go to the true immortal origin realm to capture the treasure, you will not only encounter the world monsters of the 3 major demon kingdoms, but also encounter the secret hands of my human race monks." Human monks secretly? Henry Zhang frowned. Don't believe it. Zhenjuan Yuanshan shook his head. I don't have much dealings with the Ji family cultivators, but the Jiang family cultivators can definitely do such a thing. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian glanced at Zhenjuan Yuanshan in surprise. There have been rumors from the outside that Zhenjuan Yuanshan was originally a monk in Taizhou, but was forced out of Taizhou by the Jiang family, and only then did he establish the foundation of Yuanshan Xiancheng. Now it seems that this rumor is probably true. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 249. If you have nothing to do, go back and prepare as soon as possible. After 3 days of rest, we will go to the Qingqiu demon country together. Zhenjuan Yuanshan waved his hand. Seeing the other party's order to evict guests, Zhou Mubai and the others naturally wouldn't stay here, and they all said goodbye. From start to finish, this true monarch Yuanshan never asked Chen Daoxian who came with everyone. In his opinion, although Chen Daoxian is a sword cultivator, he only has a foundation-building cultivator. Although there are more base-building cultivators in the competition for the true immortal origin realm, they can only be regarded as cannon fodder at most. Compared with the cultivators of the Zifu, the base-building cultivators have no advantages, and even the sword cultivators of the foundation-building period are hardly comparable to the Zifu cultivators. Even if Chen Daoxian's talent is extraordinary, he can be comparable to the ordinary Zifu cultivator. But an ordinary Zifu cultivator is not worth the investment of Yuanshan Zhenjuan at all. What Yuanshan Zhenjuan needs is a leader among the Zifu cultivators, preferably Tianjiao on the Zifu Tianjiao list. Only this level of Zifu cultivator can play a role in the next battle for the true immortal origin realm. Leaving the temporary immortal mansion of true monarch Yuanshan, the four handed farewell to each other. Brother Mubai, Brother Daoxian, Brother Xianling, take the next step. Taoist Huiling was a little impatient. The resources of 1 billion spirit stones are completely available to the family of Taoist Huiling, but the wealth of the family belongs to the family. This time he helped Zhenjuan Yuanshan seize the Tao Law, which is equivalent to taking private work. All gains are his own. Of course the two cannot be confused. Besides, although Taoist Huiling was the heir to the Zhao clan of Shuan House, he was only the heir after all. In order to take over the position of family patriarch steadily, in addition to maintaining their own strengths, Taoist Huiling also needs to cultivate a large number of cronies within the clan. And these all require resources. The immortal cultivating clan of Wanxinghai, both in terms of population size and sphere of influence, are not comparable to the current Qin family. The size of the family is huge, and with it there will be various problems. For example, in addition to Taoist Huiling, the Zhao family in Shuan Mansion also had an alternative patriarch heir. And their cultivation base has also reached the Purple Palace period. Relatively speaking, among the four, Huiling Taoist was the one with the most pressure. There is no need to say more about the Chun family on Shuanghu Island. No one can compete with Chun Daoxian. Although he is the young patriarch now, the power in the Chen family is probably more powerful than that of the patriarch of any immortal clan. In this regard, although Zhou Mubai is not comparable to Chen Daoxian, as the most talented cultivator of the Zhou family, Zhou Mubai's position as the next patriarch of the Zhou family is basically stable. The same is true of Henry Zhang. As a sword cultivator of the Zifu period, no one in the Zhang family of Jinan can compete with him. Therefore, from this point of view, Taoist Huiling needs more resources than the other three to stabilize his position as the heir of the patriarch. Watching Huiling Taoist leave, Zhou Mubai glanced at Chen Daoxian and said, "Brother Chen, Brother Zhang, I will go back first." Chen Daoxian and Henry Zhang nodded. Seeing Taoist Huiling and Zhou Mubai leaving, before waiting for Henry Zhang to leave, Chen Daoxian said, "Brother Zhang, wait a minute." Henry Zhang stopped and looked at him with questioning eyes. Chen Daoxian said, "Brother Zhang, am not talented. I also want to go to the real immortal origin realm to have a try. Brother Chen, have you thought about it?" Hearing that Chen Daoxian wanted to go to the real fairyland, Henry Zhang couldn't help but widen his eyes. Although he knew that Chen Daoxian's strength was not weak, in the Battle of Cangzhou Xiancheng, he even won the first merit. But in the end, Chen Daoxian just used a trick to kill a lot of those zombies without intelligence. In terms of real strength, it is not bad that Chen Daoxian is comparable to the most common Zifu cultivator. If you go to true immortal origin realm, in all likelihood, you will become cannon fodder. This time I went to the true immortal origin realm to compete for the Dao Law, not relying on the monk's ability to abuse vegetables, but the actual personal strength. In this regard, Chen Daoxian has no advantage. After all, Chen Daoxian's cultivation is a big level lower than that of him, Zhou Mubai and others. Even if Chen Daoxian's kendo level is not weaker than his, the real strength gap between the two is probably more than 10 times. Chen Daoxian didn't know what the other party was thinking, nodded and smiled. "I'll think about it clearly." "All right." Seeing that Chen Daoxian's eyes were firm, Henry Zhang knew that no matter how persuaded he was, it was estimated that the other party would not listen. Chen Daoxian can reach the pinnacle of tangible sword intent when he cultivates the foundation, and the firmness of his Taoism must be far beyond ordinary people. Once such a person makes a decision, it will not change at all. Henry Zhang paused. "Brother Chen, what does he want me to do?" Chen Daoxian bowed his hands. "I want to take the liberty to ask, what is the strength of the monks on the Zifu Tianjiao list?" Hear this question. Henry Zhang frowned. The gap between the monks who are ranked at the bottom of the Zifu Tianjiao list may not be large, but the higher the ranking, the greater the gap between monks, especially the top 10. The Zifu Tianjiao list recorded a total of 100 Zifu cultivators in Wanxinghai. Most of these Zifu cultivators were in the late period of Zifu, but there were also special ones such as Brother Zhou, who was only in the middle of Zifu. I can't guess how strong Brother Zhou is, after all. He has already stepped out of his own swordsmanship. Speaking of myself, I am now on the 8th floor of the Purple Mansion, at the peak of the 2nd level of sword intent, ranking 43rd on the Purple Mansion Tianjiao list. If I use the newly invented meteorite ink wall of Qianyuan Jianzong to calculate, if I make a full shot, the attack limit power is close to 800. He paused. Of course, the meteorite wall can only test the cultivator's attack limit. The cultivator's specific strength does not depend entirely on the attack, and there are other aspects. However, according to what I know, the last person on the Zifu Tianjiao list has an attacking limit power of more than 500. 500? Chen Daoxian nodded. This value is a relatively objective reflection of how strong the monks in the Zifu Tianjiao ranking are. He originally estimated that Zhou Mubai's attack limit was at least 700. Now it seems that the opponent is still far underestimated. After all, even Henry Zhang, who is ranked 43rd on the Zifu Tianjiao list, has an attack power of 800. His sword intent is one level higher, and Zhou Mubai, who has stepped out of his own swordsmanship, has absolutely no reason to be weaker than Henry Zhang. Chen Daoxian has practiced the magical powers of 3 heads and 6 arms, which can greatly increase the attack limit. As Zhou Mubai, who is the 9th in the Zifu Tianjiao list, doesn't he have a secret method to press the bottom of the box? Bullshit. Chen Daoxian believed that the best of these Zifu monks all had their own desperate means. Even the list of Zifu Tianjiao ranking can only be used as a reference at best. The 30th place on the Zifu Tianjiao list must not be the opponent of the 20th place? Uncertain. The result of the battle between the two will not be known until the last moment. Chen Daoxuan's current cultivation base is only the 5th layer of foundation building, and the 4th layer of flesh and blood. Even if you use the magical powers of Dharma-likeness, the strength of Qi refining and body refining are combined, and the basic attack is only 14. Including the realm bonus and the magic weapon bonus, it is about a 5-fold increase, which is 70. This is Chen Daoxuan's strongest attack with 3 heads and 6 arms. This level, in the ordinary Zifu cultivator, seems to be quite good, even comparable to the weaker late Zifu cultivator. But if he wants to compare with the monks on the Zifu Tianjiao list, he is still far behind. However, before coming to Weiyang Xiancheng, Chen Daoxian just learned one of the 3-headed and 6-armed attacking skills, and the 6 arms attack together. The 6-armed attack can combine 6 attacks into one, increasing by 6 times. It can be said to be the most essential part of the 3-headed 6-armed attack. Although the consumption of the 6-armed strike is extremely high, every time he used it, Chen Daoxian Qi Haijin Yuan would probably consume nearly half of it. But this is nothing to him who has the 3rd-grade Good Fortune White Lotus as a reserve of true essence, and he can use the 6-armed strike as a regular trick. In this way, Chen Daoxuan's ultimate attack power instantly increased 6 times, reaching as much as 420, which is already very close to the Tianjiao on the Zifu Tianjiao list. Coupled with the divine power of calmness and divine light that he obtained from Shinjua Zhenren, it can be described as a fighting skill. Calculated comprehensively, Chen Daoxuan's strength is definitely comparable to the Tianjiao on the Zifu Tianjiao list, at least the Tianjiao who ranks lower. Seeing that Chen Daoxian did not speak, Henry Zhang thought that he was frightened by his own words, and quickly persuaded, "Brother Chen, I know that you entered the real immortal realm to capture the essence of vitality that can quickly improve your cultivation, but the essence of vitality is difficult to store. After the monks get it, they can only use it or sell it quickly. There are so many monks who have entered the true immortal origin realm this time. You can buy some after the fact, there is no need to take risks." As a friend, Henry Zhang was able to speak to this point, and it was already a deep conversation. But in the Yunshao Palace of Qinyuan Jianzong, Chen Daoxian was not afraid of danger, and severely frustrated Yu Wudeo's arrogance, making Henry Zhang wish to introduce Chen Daoxian as a confidant. He said these words at this time completely from the heart. Chen Daoxian nodded and then shook his head again. "I know, but I still want to go in and have a go." Look at each other. Seeing Chen Daoxuan's firm eyes, Henry Zhang cupped his hands and said, "Then I wish us victory." Triumphant return. The two looked at each other and smiled, and they all turned into light and disappeared into the sky. Out of Weiyang Xiancheng, Chen Daoxian searched for a long time, and finally found the cultivator army of the Chen family in the chaotic military camp. Compared to the chaos when it first came, the military camp where the cultivators came to aid had been placed, and finally calmed down. It's just that the monks in the military camp wearing spirit armor and constantly patrolling make people feel depressed. Young Patriarch, seeing Chen Daoxian, Chen Fuxing, who was appeasing the monks, said in surprise. Chen Daoxian nodded. "Is it still a habit to live here?" "It's definitely not comparable to the barracks on Sequoia Island." Chen Fuxing shook his head. "But just now I received news that after checking everyone's identities, we will be stationed in Weiyang Xiancheng." Speaking of this, Chen Fuxing's still immature face showed a hint of expectation. "Young Patriarch, what is the Weiyang Xiancheng? Is it as big as the Guang'an Palace Xiancheng?" Although the Taizhou entrance is very large, the Weiyang Xianqing that Chen Fuxing and the others can see is limited after all. Only through the passage can we truly see the splendor of Weiyang Immortal City. Chen Daoxian smiled and shook his head. When you are stationed there tomorrow you will know. Hey. Hearing this, Chen Fuxing smiled slyly. You don't have to wait for tomorrow. Someone just came to inform you that 5,000 foundation building cultivators will be selected to go to Weiyang Xianqing, and I have already signed up. What? Hearing this, Chen Daoxian looked at Chen Fuxing in shock and anger. Why did you decide this matter without waiting for me to discuss it? Do you know what you are going to do? The smile on Chen Fuxing's immature face slowly subsided. He raised his head, looked at Chen Daoxian, who was half a head taller than himself, and said seriously, young patriarch, I know. This trip is to explore the true immortal level source realm. Weiyang Xianqing will send 10,000 foundation building monks and 1,000 Zifu monks to go there together. Of course, the foundation level and Zifu level world monsters sent by the major demon countries will be more. When Qianyuan Jianzong came to select people, they all told us. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian's eyebrows and heart beat wildly, and he suppressed his anger and said, Is it the monk of Qianyuan Jianzong who forced you? Chen Fuxing shook his head. Then why are you? Because I know that the young patriarch will definitely go. Chen Fuxing said firmly. When Chen Daoxian heard this, he almost laughed angrily. He waved his hand angrily. Are you so sure? Or do you think that after the foundation is established you will be invincible in the world, and you will start to be arrogant? Fuxing dare not. Chen Fuxing lowered his head. It's just that I don't want to see the young patriarch fighting alone. What Fuxing did today is not for anything else, but to prove that all the cultivators of my Chen family follow the young patriarch, not to compare, but from the bottom of our hearts, each of us regards the young patriarch as the pride of my Chen family. Speaking of this, Chen Fuxing looked at Chen Daoxian with faint tears in his eyes. Chen Daoxian's heart was touched when he saw his eyes. This kind of look is very similar to the look in Chen Xian's eyes when he looked at him at the beginning, but there are some new things such as reverence from the heart. You boy, are you waiting for me here? Chen Daoxian's tone softened. Why I punish you? Are you upset? No, Chen Fuxing shook his head. However, the young patriarch punished me. Fuxing has no complaints, but you can't misunderstand us. We are really not for comparison, let alone for the reputation of being invincible at the same level. Our military monks are wrong, I admit, but it is by no means that we do not think about practicing. On the contrary, it is precisely because our military monks carry the family's expectations, so we want to do better than others. Looking at the half-sized boy in front of him, Chen Daoxian couldn't help shaking his head. Okay, I know I'm blaming you guys, okay. Chen Daoxian shook his head. How old are you? You still need to be coaxed? When Chen Fuxing heard this, he smirked. Just to prove this, you don't even want to die? Chen Daoxian said with a serious tone. Do you know how dangerous this trip will be? I know, but you said, young patriarch, that the real strong never grow up in a greenhouse. Although this trip is dangerous, I think the chance is greater than the danger. More importantly, I can accompany the young patriarch to fight together. Stinky boy. Chen Daoxian shook his head, looked at him and said, Let's go and return together. Chen Fuxing nodded and said seriously, Let's go and return together. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 250. 3 days later. 13 giant spirit boats set out from the city of Never Young Immortals, heading towards the Qingqiu Demon Nation. Look carefully. These spirit boats are roughly divided into 4 camps, namely the monks of the Qianyuan sword sect, and the family monks of Taizhou, Jingzhou, and Songzhou. As for the other loose cultivators, they were mixed in the 4 major camps. The 11,000 monks on this trip were all carefully selected by the Qianyuan sword sect. Among these cultivators, the general cultivation base has reached the 7th floor of the foundation building. A first-level foundation building cultivator like Chen Fuxing is definitely an outlier among this group of cultivators. Of course, the strength of a cultivator is not entirely dependent on his cultivation. Chen Fuxing's identity as Jianxiu was an important reason for his selection. Headed on the spirit boat, the master of Zhenhai Palace and the other 6 true sovereigns of nascent souls stood side by side. Palace Master Qin, Zhenjuan Yuanshan looked back at the direction of Weiyang Xiancheng. Is it wrong to let Dao Zhang stay in Weiyang Xiancheng alone? Before Qin Zhang could speak, another Yuaning ancestor of the Zhang family was dissatisfied and said, "What do you mean by Taoist Yuanshan? My Zhang family has been guarding Weiyang Xiancheng for so many years. Is there still something wrong? This is not what this seat means." Qin Zhang waved his hand and interrupted the dispute between the two. Okay, with Zhang Daoya's late Yuaning cultivation base, even if he encounters a world demon who takes a surprise attack on Weiyang Xiancheng, it is enough to send us a message and it will be fine. Hear this. Zhenjuan Yuanshan nodded. Perhaps it was because he suffered a big loss in the hands of the Zhang family in his early years, and Zhenjuan Yuanshan has always maintained a vigilant attitude towards the Zhang family. Seeing that Zhenjuan Yuanshan and the Zhang family smelled of gunpowder, old ancestor Ji became a peacemaker and said with a smile, "I heard that Taoist Yuanshan is very well prepared this time. Even Zhou Mubai, who is 9th in the Zifu Qianjiao list, please move." Already? Speaking of which, Zhou Mubai is probably the strongest among this group of cultivators in the Purple Mansion, right? Hearing this, Zhenjuan Yuanshan laughed and waved his hand. Don't dare, the Zifu Qianjiao ranking is only a rough ranking based on the record and the cultivation realm of the monks. It is hard to say which monks are stronger or weaker on the list. Very. He paused. Your Ji family's arrogances, Ji Yanqing and Ji Yanfeng, are both the top 50 arrogances in the Zifu arrogance list. Does fellow Taoist Ji think that these two arrogances of your JIS family must be weaker than Zhou Mubai? Besides, if you want to seize the Tao law, in addition to the strength of the cultivator, it also depends on the luck of the cultivator. Seeing Yuan Chen's appearance that he was cheap and sold well, old ancestor Ji pointed at Zhenjuan Yuanshan, smiled and shook his head. However, Zhenjuan Yuanshan is right in saying that in order to capture the Tao law in the true immortal origin realm, in addition to the strength of the cultivator, it also depends on the luck of the cultivator. If the cultivator is unlucky and is besieged by many cultivators of the Purple House, let alone capturing the Tao law, it will be difficult to even save his life. You must know that only the Weiyang Xiancheng side sent 1,000 cultivators from the Zifu. As the host of the true demon realm, the three major demon nations, Qingqiu, Jie, and Shihua, will only send more demons from the Zifu realm. Moreover, this 1,000 Zifu cultivators are just the candidates that Weiyang Xiancheng is going to send. Specifically, the three major demons will not agree to it, and they need to discuss them with the other party. However, with the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace, there shouldn't be a big problem. Songzhou Monk Camp. On a giant spirit boat. This is. Chen Daoxian took the jade slip handed over by Henry Zhang, looked up at him and wondered, "This is the information that Zhenjuan Yuanshan sent to me yesterday. It is about the strongest among the demons in the Zifu world." Hearing this, Chen Daoxian's eyes narrowed, and he was about to sink his consciousness into it. Half an hour. He just withdrew his consciousness. "Brother Zhang, thank you for your kindness," Chen Daoxian said solemnly. Henry Zhang smiled. "No need to say thank you, the cultivators of Zifu have a share of this information, and with Brother Chen's strength they should have a share." As he said that, he turned his head to look in the direction of the Qingqiu Demon Nation. Among the three major demon countries, the Qingqiu Demon Nation and the Jie Demon Nation are good to say, although there are also world demons that are comparable to the Qianjiao list of my Wangxinghai Zifu Qianjiao. But in general, there is no strong person at the level of Brother Zhou. But the Lion Camel country is different. Among their Zifu world monsters, there is a pervert. Speaking of this, Henry Zhang's face became solemn. This world demon is the direct descendant of the Lion and Camel country's lord, and his body is a green lion spirit. According to the information provided by Senior Yuan Chan, the Lion and Camel country's lord, the blood descendant, is in existence known as the one who is expected to become a demon master. I hope to become a demon master. Chen Daoxian's eyes became more solemn than ever. You must know that even if it is Zhou Mubai, the outside world only thinks that he can become a Jindan cultivator, but no one dares to assert whether he can become the Yuanying Zhenjuan with a lifespan of 3,000 years. Even the probability that Zhou Mubai could not become Yuanying Zhenjuan was even greater. In Wangxinghai, generations of Zifu Tianjiao are like crucian carp crossing the river, but how many people can really become Yuanying Zhenjuan? Not to mention that Zhou Mubai is only the 9th in the Zifu Tianjiao list. Even if he is the first in the Zifu Tianjiao list, Who can guarantee that he will definitely become a nascent soul cultivator in the future? From the practice of Zifu to nascent soul, I don't know how many hardships I encountered. Any wrong step will lead to the cultivator's eternal fate. Therefore, the so-called arrogance and evil spirits will not be looked down upon by other true monarchs until they truly become the nascent soul monks on the suppressing side. However, this purple mansion realm demon from Lion Camel country is known as a promising demon master. This is not an ordinary evaluation, which means that this blue lion spirit from Lion Camel Nation is definitely different from the ordinary purple mansion realm demon place. However, this is something extraordinary, which was not mentioned in the information given by Jinju and Yuanqin. After all, Cultivator 1 Xinghai knew too little about the major demon kingdoms in the real demon world. The information that true monarch Yuanqin came up with was obtained from the hall master of Zhenhai Palace. Henry Zhang continued. This information mentions that there are 19 demons in the Zifu world worth noting, including 6 in the Qingqiu demon country, 5 in the extreme night demon country, and 8 in the lion and camel demon country. According to the evaluation of Qianyuan Jianzong, the 19 Zifu world monsters are the weakest, and they are all comparable to the Tianjiao Zifu on my Zifu Tianjiao list. Chen Daoxian frowned. Is the strength of the demon so strong? Yes, Zhang Xianling sighed. I just got this information. I also feel terrible. The boundaries of these 3 big demon kingdoms combined are no more than the land of my Wangxinghai in the 3 states, but they are comparable to the Zifu Tianjiao list. There are actually as many as 19. This means that the world monsters of the same rank are even stronger than our human race monks. Brother Zhang, how strong are we here? You mean Tianjiao Zifu? Chen Daoxian nodded. Henry Zhang thought for a while and said, as far as I know, Cangzhou has 3 Tianjiao Zifu, Taizhou has more, there are 5, Jingzhou has 3, and Qianyuan Jianzong sent several Tianjiao Zifu, I don't know. That is to say, we have a total of 11 Tianjiao Zifu here? Right. Henry Zhang nodded. There are at least 11, I think with the means of the Qin Palace Master. There must be more than 11, but it will not be more than the Tianjiao Zifu in the world demon. Chen Daoxian knew that this was true, because Qianyuan Jianzong did not have many Tianjiao Zifu in total. This year's Zifu Tianjiao list monks, Qianyuan Jianzong occupied not many places. It seems that there are only 10 Zifu monks on the list. It is impossible for the master of Zhenhai Palace to send all the Tianjiao Zifu in the sect. He doesn't have that much power either. You must know that these Tianjiao Zifu all belong to different hall masters and elders of Qianyuan Jianzong. He Qinzhan is not the suzerain of Qianyuan sword sect, and he can mobilize so many Tianjiao Zifu to come to the real demon world with one decree. Seeing that Chen Daoxuan's expression was a little heavy, Henry Zhang comforted. Brother Chen, don't worry. Although Tianjiao Zifu is far more powerful than ordinary Zifu cultivators, in the end it is still Zifu cultivator. Not to mention the cultivators of the Zifu, what about the cultivators of Jindan? We have 1,000 cultivators of the Zifu on this trip. Which cultivator of Jindan can stop them? Hear this. Chen Daoxian smiled and nodded, but his heavy heart did not ease. In terms of high-end combat power, the Wan Xinghai cultivator did not have an advantage. Even if the cultivator Wan Xinghai added him, there were only 12 Tianjiao Zifu level combat powers. On the other side of the world demon there are 19. There is a difference of 7 places between the two, and this is based on the premise that the Great Yuan Demon Nation does not participate. Otherwise, the situation will only become more chaotic. As for the ordinary Zifu level powerhouses, there are as many as 1,000 on Wan Xinghai's side, but the world monsters will only send more. It's not that Wan Xinghai can't send more Zifu monks, but this is the real demon world after all. If Qianyuan Jianzong makes a big splash, it will send 10,000 or more Zifu monks. Maybe it will cause the 3 major demon nations to join forces to deal with Weiyang Xiancheng, and even detonate the war between Wan Xinghai and the major demon nations ahead of time. Now dispatching 1,000 cultivators from the Purple Mansion, with this strength, any of the 3 major demon nations can come up with a lineup that is comparable to them, so that the 3 major demon nations will not be completely united. The distance between Qingqiu Demon Country and Weiyang Immortal City is not far. Less than a stick of incense time. 13 spirit boats flew into the territory of the Qingqiu Demon Nation. Along the way, Chen Daoxian looked down from the spirit boat and saw the situation in the Qingqiu Demon Country. But the scene he saw almost made him uneasy. Henry Zhang saw the scene along the way, and his eyebrows were also beating wildly, and he said in a low voice, "These bastards!" Qingqiu Demon Country. Cities are built, and these cities are all surrounded by towering walls. Inside the fence is the blood food kept by the Qingqiu Demon Nation. These blood and food are nothing else, they are the human race who are the spirits of all things, and they are ordinary human races. Qingqiu Demon Nation and Dayuan Demon Nation have completely different ways of raising human races. The Great Yuan Demon Nation adopts the method of raising gu and cultivates a group of powerful people of the human race for the food of the demons. The way the Qingqiu Demon Nation chose to keep the human race was much more extensive. Just like ordinary human races build pigsties and sheepfolds, they keep a large number of mortals in cities and go to the cities to enjoy them regularly. Along the way, Chan Daoxian even saw the bounded demon slaughtering and devouring the mortals in the city. Although the human race of the real demon world and the human race of Wuxia belong to two worlds, but the two are of the same race after all. Below, in an unknown small town, a head of 9 demon foxes displayed their true bodies, and the huge demon bodies nearly folded up a third of a small town. This purple mansion-level world monster was lying there, comfortably opening his mouth and swallowing in the direction of the town. With its swallowing, a terrifying demon wind blew in the town, and countless mortals and domestic animals flew towards the mouths of the 9 demon foxes. After about a third of the meal, the Zifu world demon stopped with satisfaction. Seeing this scene, no cultivator Wan Xinghai could bear it. The head of the Zhenhai Palace had a livid face, and immediately waved down with a palm. Across hundreds of miles, this Zifu world demon turned into powder in Qin Zhan's hands, dissipating between the heavens and the earth. Killing a Zifu world demon, the atmosphere of the team not only did not relax, but became heavier. At this moment, these monks from Wan Xinghai really understood why the so-called world monsters and human races are not at odds with each other. This is still in the real demon world. If there is a day when the world demon passage in Taizhou becomes like the source of two realms, I don't know what kind of scene will become of Wan Xinghai, which is still considered stable now. With the beheading of the Zifu world demon, higher-level world demons soon came to check, but after feeling the mighty terrifying aura of the Lingzhou fleet from a distance, this Jindan-level world demon didn't even dare to fight in person, so he fled wildly and escaped. Watching the Jindan world demon leave, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace did not embarrass the other party. The purpose of his trip was to participate in the competition for the true immortal level source realm, not to provoke a war between the 3 major demon kingdoms and Weiyang Xiancheng. Just a moment of anger. If they kill this Jindan level world demon again, they are really here to provoke trouble, which is not in line with their purpose of coming to the Qingqiu Demon Nation. An hour later, this fleet of 13 spirit boats finally arrived in the hinterland of the Qingqiu Demon Nation, where the true immortal origin world was born. On the spirit boat, Chen Daoxian saw from a distance that there were 3 demon forces facing off below. It's just different from the world demon he had seen in the Great Yuan Demon Kingdom before. The world demons in the 3 major demon kingdoms below actually changed in the direction of humanoids. For example, the world demon of the Lion Camel Country. The body is almost all green lion spirits. And the Lion Camel Country demon below did not show its body, but had the appearance of a lion head and a human body. The ones with the highest cultivation level simply turned into human figures. Hearing Chen Daoxian's doubts, Henry Zhang thought for a while and said, after the world demon has cultivated to the Zifu level, because the Dao law needs to be filled into the source world, it will naturally change in the direction of the human body. Although my human race is naturally weak, the human race body is the most suitable form for comprehending the laws of the Dao. Therefore, the body of the human race is also called the body of the Dao by the ancient demon clan, and it is also for this reason that the demon of the world changes into a human body. Hearing this explanation, Chen Daoxian nodded. Haven't waited for him to speak. Among the 3 world demon forces facing each other below, a roar suddenly resounded through the sky. Human monks, do you want to start a war? Say it. A slender figure rose into the sky and flew towards the fleet of spirit boats hovering in the air. The Lord of Zhenhai Palace looked at the slender figure flying towards him quickly. His eyes narrowed slightly. The Lord of Qingqiu. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 251. On the Spirit Boat. The Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace looked at him indifferently, his eyes full of contempt. As the master of Qingqiu who opened up a demon kingdom, when has he received such contempt? Not to mention that this contempt comes from a small human race. Die! King Qingqiu held the sky with one hand, and his palm instantly turned into a huge demon claw. Demon body image. Henry Zhang murmured. The demonic claws manifested by the Qingqiu king were incomparably huge, and only one demonic claw was comparable to half the size of the spirit boat. Next moment, the demon claws, like the Pillar of Optimus, ripped apart the space and slashed straight down towards the spirit boat where the Hall Master of Zhenhai Temple was. Under this blow from the sky, the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace on the deck of the spirit boat was as small as an ant. But it was this ant that disappeared directly on the spirit boat before the demon claws slashed down. Almost at the same time, the Hall Master of Zhenhai Temple, who disappeared on the spirit boat, used his tiny body to block in front of the spirit boat and stretched out his index finger. Chen Daoxian could not describe the scene in front of him, because the next scene is like an illusion. King Kinkius' demonic claws were actually blocked by a finger of the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace, and the two collided without making any movement, not to mention tearing apart the space, not even a shock wave. This? Chen Daoxian was shocked. Henry Zhang, Zhou Mubai and others were even more stunned by the scene in front of them. After a long while, Henry Zhang sighed. It's not bad that he is known as the most evil disciple in the history of Qianyuan Jianzong. See this scene. King Kinkius' face instantly became extremely ugly. The Lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom and the Lord of the Jia Kingdom, who were watching the excitement below, all looked solemn. Now that you're done, it's my turn. After speaking, the figure of the Hall Master of Zhenhai Temple disappeared in place, and the next moment, his figure appeared strangely in front of the King of Qingqiu. Teleport. A look of panic flashed in the eyes of the Qingqiu Kingdom. Just as he was about to react, he was pinched by the heavenly spirit cover with the palm of the Zhenhai Palace's palm. Boom! Chen Daoxian only felt a blur in front of his eyes. Immediately afterwards, a figure cut through the air and hit the ground, smashing the ground into a bottomless pit, and the violent air waves blew the spirit boat in the sky wildly. High in the sky, the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace folded his left hand in his sleeve, and his right hand was holding a huge demon fox Tianling's hood. With just one blow, the Hall Master of Zhenhai Temple lifted the opponent's heavenly spirit cover down. Roar! Next second. In the deep pit of the earth, a snow-white nine-tailed demon fox stood up from the deep pit. Compared with the figures of the 9 demon foxes, the spirit boat that Chen Daoxian and others were riding on was like a toy, not to mention the human monks on the spirit boat. I want you to die. The snow-white nine-tailed demon fox spoke out, and the wound on its head almost recovered in an instant. Brother Qingqiu. Just as the king of Qingqiu was about to go all out, a thick voice sounded. Immediately afterwards, a majestic figure flew between the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace and the 9 demon foxes. The real immortal level source realm is about to open. Even if the two of you want to fight, it will not be too late to fight until we have finished exploring the source realm. Extremely. Below, the king of the Polar Night Country in black robes also voiced his support. Hear this. The face of the king of Qingqiu was full of resentment, and the huge demon pupil stared at the majestic figure in front of him and roared, "The king of Lion and Camel, why didn't you say this just now? Did you know that he just killed a big monster in my Qingqiu country?" Facing the accusations of the Qingqiu country, the Lion Camel country lord said with a blank face, "It's just a big demon. I hope the Qingqiu country lord will put the overall situation first." Okay, very good. The king of Qingqiu immediately took back his demon body and returned to his human form. But his gaze towards the Lion and Camel Kingdom and Ji Kingdom was full of resentment. It is no secret at all that the major demon nations are at odds. Speaking of which, the contradictions between the 4 big demon kingdoms are more than the contradictions between the Qingqiu demon kingdom and Weiyang Xiansheng. Seeing the turmoil subside, the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace said, "The real fairy source world was born, and I, the Wan Xinghai cultivator, also want to share a piece of the pie. What do you think?" Hear this. The Lord of the Lion Camel country frowned. "The real fairy source world is left by my demon senior." What does it have to do with your human race? Hearing this, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace said firmly, the strong treasure can get it. This is the law of heaven. Seeing that the Lord of Zhenhai Palace and the Lord of Lion Camel were fighting, the Lord of Qingqiu Kingdom quickly calmed down the anger in his heart and put on a posture of watching a play. When the Lord of Jia Kingdom saw that the Lord of Qingqiu Kingdom was no longer at war with the Lord of Zhenhai Palace, he immediately chose to remain silent. For the Lord of the Polar Night Kingdom, the weakest among the 4 great demon kingdom lords. In this trip, as long as you can successfully obtain the Tao Law in the true immortal origin realm, and make your own strength further. As for arguing with the human race monks, he has no interest. Weiyang Xianqing has been standing in this world for 100 years. As to whether there is a backer behind the human race that suddenly appeared 100 years ago, the king of Jia Kingdom has no idea, and naturally he is reluctant to stroke the other side's tiger whiskers. Weiyang Xianqing can forcefully bite off a large piece of the territory of the Qingqiu demon country, and let the Qingqiu country lord have no way to take it. It can be seen that this human race is not ordinary. The lord of the Jia Kingdom is naturally willing to beat the underdogs, but he is the cannon fodder in front of the charge. Whoever wants to be the lord of the Jia Kingdom is not right. The lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom could not help but be silent when he saw that the lord of Zhenhai Palace was so tough. After a long while, the lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom said, "Okay, I admit that your human cultivator has this strength, but how do you human cultivator want to share this cake?" Seeing the Lion and Camel country's lord let go, a smile appeared on the corner of the mouth of the lord of Zhenhai Palace, and then he frowned and said, "If our Yuaning cultivator and the demon lord enter the real immortal source world to fight, that won't work." The lord of the Lion Camel country shook his head. According to our investigation, the true immortal level source world has existed for many years, and if a demon level battle breaks out inside, I am afraid it will collapse in an instant. At that time, none of us will get the laws of the great Tao. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace was a little annoyed and stared. "This is not good, that is not good, what do you say?" Hear this. The king of the Lion Camel country glanced at the hall master of Zhenhai Palace with contempt, and secretly said in his heart that they all said that the monks of the human race were cunning. At this time, the lord of Jia Kingdom flew up and said in a hoarse voice, "Since the demon lord can't compete for it himself, how about sending his subordinates to compete?" "I have no opinion." The lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom nodded, then looked at the lord of Zhenhai Palace. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace frowned, thought about it and nodded, "I have no opinion." Finally, the 3 of them turned their attention to the king of Qingqiu. "Humph. I agree too." The lord of the Lion Camel country didn't care about the attitude of the lord of the Qingqiu country. He nodded and said, "Since everyone agrees, then determine the number and cultivation of his subordinates, right?" "Sure shit." The hall master of Zhenhai Palace waved his hand carelessly. "All the people I brought here, this is your territory, it's not easy to adjust your subordinates." Hearing this, the projection of the origin of the Lion and Camel country shrouded the spirit boat fleet of the human monks in an instant, and he immediately checked the number of human monks on the spirit boat. 1,000 Zifu monks, and 10,000 foundation building monks. The lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom nodded. "Yes, all of us will follow this number." "Agree." "Okay." The other 2 kings all nodded. After a few words, everyone negotiated the quota of each party to enter the real fairy world. From the 3 major demon kingdoms and the Wuxia human race monks, a total of 4,000 Zifu level powerhouses and 40,000 base building powerhouses entered the true immortal origin realm. After negotiating the allocation of places, everyone's tense atmosphere also subsided slightly. The human race cultivator and the world demon have been fighting for so long, and the 2 sides don't know much about each other, especially between high-level people. It's just that this is the hinterland of the true demon realm, which is very far from Liangjiuan. This made several demon nations know very little about the Wan Xinghai monks, especially the Qianyuan sword sect. But this time, the kings of the 3 major demon kingdoms know the name of the master of Zhenhai Palace. With one palm, the heavenly spirit cover of the king of Qingqiu was lifted off, which is obviously not something that an ordinary nascent soul cultivator can do. You must know that those who can open up a demon kingdom in the real demon world are at least the powerhouses at the peak level of demon masters. If you change to a human monk, that is the powerful monk on the 9th floor of nascent soul. The existence of this level was unexpectedly smashed by the head of Zhenhai Palace. Although this hand did little harm to the Qingqiu king, it was extremely insulting. This is also the reason why the king of Qingqiu just put on a desperate gesture. It was less than a stick of incense after everyone discussed it properly. A burst of space turbulence rippled. Next moment, a strangely shaped spirit boat flew out of the space channel. This spirit boat is even larger than the spirit boats driven by the Wan Xinghai monk together. But Chen Daoxian, as a refiner, knows that apart from being huge, this spirit boat is not powerful in itself. If it is an algorithm level, this spirit boat is probably only level 3. A third-order spirit boat is obviously impossible to break through the space. In other words, it was not the huge spirit boat that broke the space, but the demon master on the spirit boat. The Lion Camel King, the Qingqiu King, the Extreme Night King. You are exploring the real immortal source world, but you have excluded my Dayuan country, and brought the human race monks instead. This is not kind enough, do you think so? Zhenhai Palace Lord? The original indifferent face of the Zhenhai Palace Hall Master immediately changed his expression when he heard the new demon master call out his name in public. For a long time, Qinyuan Jianzong knew very little about the major demon kingdoms across the passage. Unexpectedly, this great Yuan demon nation knew a lot about Qinyuan sword sect. The only possibility is that this great Yuan demon country has a deep connection with the demon country forces near Liangjiyuan. Qinyuan Jianzong was also famous in Liangjiyuan thousands of years ago. In order to help Liangjiyuan, he almost broke the inheritance of Qinyuan Jianzong. But by virtue of this battle, Qinyuan Jianzong was also considered to be famous in Liangjiyuan. So far, there are still legends about Jianqiu of Qinyuan Jianzong in the sex and demon kingdoms near Liangjiyuan. Not surprising. After all, there are also people in the human race who will reveal information about the high-level monks of the human race to the world monster. My demon lord. The lord of the Lion Camel Kingdom looked at the talking demon lord of the Dayuan Kingdom with a solemn expression. The demon lord Manwu is the younger brother of the lord of Dayuan. His body is an ancient demon snake, but his bloodline is unknown. In fact, according to the strength of this demon lord Manwu, he can completely open up a demon kingdom, but he is still willing to serve under his elder brother, which is very strange. It stands to reason that snake demons are the most ruthless. But I don't know why this demon lord barbarian has remained unchanged for thousands of years, following behind his eldest brother. On the spirit boat, the moment Chen Daoxian saw this savage demon master, he directly used the breath conditioning technique to reduce his breath to almost nothing, and even his breath became inaudible. Zhang Xianling, who was on the side, looked at him again and again. It's not that Chen Daoxian is timid, it's that this monstrous demon master has faced each other with his avatar. At the beginning, his clone kept slaughtering the world demons in the demon kingdom of Dayuan, and finally he was arrested by the demon lord of the great Yuan kingdom. Among them, there was this demon lord Manwu. Moreover, this demon lord Manwu seems to be very proficient in the laws of the Space Avenue. At the beginning, his clone was almost caught by the opponent. Fortunately, his avatar was smart enough to run the Shui banner ahead of time. But he still felt the terrifying aura of the demon master at a glance. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian did not dare to send another clone to Dawn to do things. As the saying goes, if you often walk by the river, you will never get wet shoes. The last time he was able to escape under the arrest of this demon lord Manwu was a fluke. Continue to wave, it is definitely a dead end. The great Yuan demon nation wants a piece of the pie, of course. The lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom nodded. But we have to follow the rules we negotiated. The rules you agreed upon? Demon Lord Manwu's sinister eyes flickered. I don't know what the rules are. At the moment, the king of the Lion Camel said the rules that were negotiated by the quartet. The Lord of Manwu State thought for a while, then nodded and said, yes, but I, the Lord of Manwu State, sent the Demon King Qinghe to participate. Qinghe Demon King? Impossible. The Lord of the Lion Camel Country shook his head and said, at most, you can only send big demons to participate. Qinghe is already the Demon King. which is not in line with the rules. Hearing this, Manwu sneered. Although Qinghe is a demon king, his cultivation is the same as that of a big demon, so why can't he participate? Besides, your lion camel country doesn't plan to send your blood prison demon king. Are you going to participate? Hear this. The faces of the Qingqiu king and Ji king suddenly became ugly. The demon king of blood prison is the blood descendant of the lion and camel country king, mentioned on the jade slip that Zhang Xianling gave to Chan Daoxian. The cultivation base itself is only equivalent to the purple mansion of the human race, but it has the name of the demon king. In the real demon world, the names of the world demon, the demon king, and the demon master do not depend on their cultivation, but on their strength. This is very different from the human race monks. Although the Qinghe demon king and the blood prison demon king are only equivalent to the human race's Zifu, their strength is definitely the first-level demon king, that is, the human race Jindan cultivator. On the side of the Wan Xinghai cultivator, Zhou Mubai was probably the only one who could match the opponent a little. After Zhou Mubai created his own sword art and realized his own swordsmanship, his strength has basically crossed the threshold of Jindan cultivator. But compared with the Qinghe demon king and the blood prison demon king, I am afraid it is not as good. As we all know, in the same rank, the power of the demons is often stronger than that of the human monks. Since these two are genuine demon kings, it proves that the strength of these two demon kings has definitely reached the average line of the world demon kings. Such a comparison, the strength of these two demon kings is probably comparable to that of the middle stage Jindan or even the late Jindan monks of the human race. At best, Zhou Mubai's strength could only be compared to that of a cultivator in the early stage of Jindan. In this way, the high-end power of the Wan Xinghai cultivator is far inferior to that of the Lion and Camel Demon Nation and the Great Yuan Demon Nation. Apart from the unsightly face of the Wan Xinghai cultivator, the faces of the demons from the Qingqiu Demon Nation and the Jiwa Demon Nation also looked ugly, because these three parties were all weak. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 252. Just when the atmosphere was stagnant, the master of Zhenhai Hall waved his hand carelessly. It's a big deal, that's it. This idiot. Lord Qingqiu and Lord Jia cursed in their hearts at the same time. Seeing that the Lord of Zhenhai Temple took the initiative to back down, a smile flashed on the face of the Lord of the Lion and Camel Kingdom, and a hint of hesitation appeared on the face of the demon Lord Manwu. The performance of the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace was different from what was recorded in the information. However, he has never seen the real Zhenhai Palace Hall Master, and it is normal for him to deviate from the report. After all, those human spies like to exaggerate. Thinking of this, Demon Lord Manwu turned his head and said, Lord Lion and Camel, what do you think? Hearing this, the Lion Camel country had an expression of embarrassment, and finally nodded. Since the human race agrees, my Lion Camel country will naturally not object. Seeing that the Lion Camel country lord got a bargain and sold it well, the barbarian demon lord snorted coldly, and then looked at the Qingqiu country lord and the Jia country lord, and said lightly, how about the two of you? Among the 5 parties, all 3 parties agreed, and they were the most powerful 3 parties. Even though King Qingqiu and King Jia were extremely reluctant, they had to nod their heads in agreement. In the real demon world, everything speaks with strength. This is even more naked than the performance of the human race's cultivation world. After all, the human race's cultivation forces sometimes pay attention to verbal morality. Among the demon kingdoms in the real demon world, there is absolutely no morality at all. There are countless examples of weak demon kingdoms being wiped out by powerful demon kingdoms without any fault. If that's the case, then it's settled. The demon Lord Manwu said with a firm voice, when the true immortal origin realm opens, each of us will send 1,000 Zifu level and 10,000 foundation building powerhouses respectively. Okay. Agree. Everyone nodded one after another. But this time, the faces of the Qingqiu king and Ji king were extremely ugly. After agreeing on the quota, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace returned to the spirit boat alone. The rest of the major demon country lords and demon lords also returned to their own forces. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace just returned to the spirit boat. The carefree expression on his face subsided. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace looked at the people who were waiting for him, and finally set his eyes on a female cultivator on the 9th floor of the Purple Mansion, and said with a relaxed smile, "Qi Yao, my path depends entirely on you." Fairy Qi Yao, dressed in purple, nodded and said, "Don't worry, Shishu. Zifu Tianjiao ranked first." Fairy Qi Yao. The eyes of the rest of the nascent soul true monarchs looking at this one were all slightly complicated. It was not until before they set off that they learned that the master of Zhenhai Palace had invited the beloved disciple of Qianyuan Sword Sect. But thinking of the relationship between the Qianyuan Sword Sect master and the Zhenhai Palace hall master, they were relieved. Seeing that his nephew was so confident, the hall master of Zhenhai Hall nodded, and then frowned again. However, the strength of the two Zifu demon kings from the Lion Camel Demon Kingdom and the Duan Demon Country is no trivial matter. Are you sure? Hearing the question from the little uncle, Qi Yao shook his head and said, "Uncle, if you hadn't invited me out this time, I would have broken through to the golden elixir in the sect." "What do you mean?" The head of the Zhenhai Palace's eyes lit up. "Are you planning to break through the golden core stage in the true immortal origin realm?" Fairy Qi Yao nodded. Hearing this, the palace master of Zhenhai Palace had both joy and worry on his face. "If you successfully break through the golden pill, of course it would be good. I'm afraid that when the big demon kingdoms know of your threat, they will join hands to deal with you." Fairy Qi Yao thought for a while and said, "This move does have some risks, but it is also the safest method. If I succeed in condensing the golden core, I will not be afraid even if the four major demon nations unite in the real fairy source world." Hearing such arrogant words, the hall master of Zhenhai Palace did not have the slightest doubt. Fairy Qi Yao, as the number one on the Zifu Tianjiao list, is far superior to the ordinary Jindan cultivator. In terms of strength, she is definitely on the same level as the Blood Prison Demon King of the Lion Camel Demon Kingdom and the Qinghe Demon King of the Dayuan Demon Country. If she breaks through the golden core, her strength will inevitably skyrocket several times or even 10 times. At that time, when facing the Demon King of Blood Prison and Demon King Qinghe, they will definitely be in a crushing position. As for the other Purple Mansion demons, let alone among the four great demon kingdoms, apart from the Demon King of Blood Prison and the Demon King of Qinghe, the remaining great demons in Zifu are at most a little stronger than Zhou Mubai. If the major forces were compared individually, the Wan Xinghai monk would probably rank third. In terms of the top-level combat power, on the side of the Wan Xinghai cultivator, Fairy Qi Yao, the Zifu Tianjiao ranked first, is no less than the Zifu Demon King sent by any demon country. The gap between the Wan Xinghai cultivator and the major demon states is probably in the high-end combat power, that is, the combat power of the Zifu Tianjiao ranking Tianjiao Zifu. The hall master of Zhenhai Hall estimated that the battle strength of the Tianjiao Zifu they sent might not even be as large as the Tianjiao Zifu sent by the extreme night demon nation. Qianyuan Jianzong once experienced a war with the real demon world. The hall master of Zhenhai Palace knows how powerful the monsters of the same rank are. Generally speaking, the ordinary Zifu monks are not the opponents of the Zifu Big Demon at all, let alone the Zifu Big Demon sent by the major demon countries. They must be the best among the Zifu Big Demons in each demon country. These Zifu Big monsters are placed among the human race, and they are probably close to the level of Tianjiao Zifu, and their strength far exceeds that of ordinary late-stage cultivators of Zifu. So count. The strength of the demon nation teams is exaggerated. Of course, the cultivator Wan Xinghai is not weak here. The cultivators of the Zifu they selected are all elites among the cultivators of the Zifu from the 3 states in Qianyuan Jianzong. Especially the group of Zifu monks selected from Qianyuan Jianzong. Even if they can't compare to the Tianjiao Zifu on the Zifu Tianjiao list, they are far stronger than the ordinary late Zifu monks. No one has ever doubted the background of Qianyuan Sword Sect. As for the combat power of the foundation building level, everyone ignored it. Of course, it was not completely ignored. The plan of the hall master of Zhenhai Palace is to hope that these 10,000 monks in the late stage of foundation establishment, who are approaching the Purple Mansion stage, can quickly break through their cultivation and reach the Purple Mansion stage with the help of the vitality essence or blood marrow in the true immortal origin realm. Although it is difficult to compare the newly promoted Zifu period monks and the dispatched elite Zifu monks, the number of foundation building monks is huge. Using the crowd tactics, even the ordinary Tianjiao Zifu on the Zifu Tianjiao list would not be able to withstand the siege of dozens of newly promoted Zifu cultivators, let alone the 10,000-strong group of foundation-building cultivators. Even if only half of the cultivators of Wan Xinghai broke through to the Purple Mansion stage with the help of the vitality essence of the true immortal origin realm, it would also be a huge help to the elite Purple Mansion cultivators in Wan Xinghai. Can be said that at this point the human race monks are relatively cheap. Because the foundation-building world monsters want to break through their cultivation, they have to rely on each other to kill and devour each other, and they cannot directly advance with the help of vitality essence and blood marrow. It can be seen from this. What Chen Daoxian said before, what does it mean that Chen Fuxing will be extremely dangerous when he enters the real immortal realm? After entering the true immortal origin realm, in order to improve their cultivation and gain an advantage, these base-building world monsters will inevitably hunt cultivators and other base-building world monsters frantically. At that time, the foundation establishment cultivator with poor strength and luck will inevitably suffer large-scale casualties. Songzhou Camp. On the spirit boat, Chen Daoxian looked at the nervous Chen Fuxing and said, "After the real fairy world opens, we may be teleported to a different location. You take this first." With that said, Chen Daoxian handed over a storage bag. Chen Fuxing took the storage bag and after checking it, his expression suddenly changed. "Young patriarch, this is absolutely impossible." Chen Daoxian's eyes widened and he reprimanded, "If you want to take it, just take it, so much nonsense." Then his tone softened a bit. "You don't have to worry about my safety, in the real fairy source world. As long as I don't encounter a powerhouse at the level of the Zifu Demon King, I will not be in any danger. Even if I encounter the Demon King of the Zifu, I am sure of escaping for my life." Chen Fuxing pursed his lips and said nothing. The five forces have been waiting for months. The realm where they are located has finally changed. I saw high in the sky one after another space ripples like water ripples rippling. See this change. The demon lord man was soared into the sky, flew to the place where the space ripples were rippling, and said with joy, "The space barriers of the true immortal origin realm have gradually merged with this realm. Everyone, let's start together." "Okay. Let's do it together." Demon lords and true monarch nascent soul from all forces spoke out together. Although the demon kingdoms and Weiyang Xianqing are usually hostile to each other, they all chose to join forces in front of the huge interests of the true immortal origin realm. Compared with fighting each other, their path is obviously more important. And in the real fairy source world, there is the Tao law related to their path. This kind of interest is enough to make all parties temporarily put aside their prejudices and explore the real immortal level source world together. Boom! Dozens of figures stand in the sky. Their bodies exuded a terrifying aura. In the spirit boat fleet, the Zifu and base-building cultivators from various states all felt shivering. At this moment they knew why the true monarch Yuanying was known as the existence that could suppress one side. Chen Daoxian looked at the demon lord and true monarch nascent soul who were tearing apart the space together, his heart beating violently. So strong. His eyes burned hot. Finally, under the subordinates of dozens of demon masters and Yuanying Xinjuan, the space barrier of the true immortal origin realm was directly torn apart by a huge space crack. If you don't enter at this time, what are you waiting for? The lion and camel kingdom's face was ashen as he roared. Hearing this roar that resounded through the sky, the monks and world demons from all parties reacted one after another, immediately turned into an escape light, and flew into the space crack that was about tens of miles long and several miles wide. "Fuxing, let's go too." Chen Fuxing nodded nervously. Following behind Chen Daoxian, they flew towards the huge space crack in the sky. Along with them, there are tens of thousands of cultivators from all ethnic groups, as well as the densely packed demons of the demon kingdom. This moment, the monks and the demons were like flies, swallowed by the gap in the sky, and soon disappeared. After entering the space crack, Chen Daoxian only felt the darkness in front of him, and with the whirlwind, he felt that he was thrown out. Brush! As soon as he regained his sight, Chen Daoxian displayed 3 heads and 6 arms, holding a fairy sword in each of his 6 arms. His eyes were like electricity, and he looked like he was facing a great enemy. Divine consciousness scanned the radius of more than 120 miles, but did not find the slightest danger. Chen Daoxian's tense nerves relaxed slightly. But he didn't dare to relax completely. He always maintained a state of 3 heads and 6 arms. Apart from not displaying the Dharma image that is more than 10 feet tall, Chen Daoxian can be said to have gone all out. No way, in this unfamiliar environment, there are still a large number of enemies. Chen Daoxian had to be careful. Found that there is no danger for the time being. Chen Daoxian then looked at the surrounding environment. Compared with the real demon world and the human race immortal world, this real fairy source world is many times desolate. Being here is like being in the desert. Not only that, the space here is also very unstable. In Wanxinghai, even if Chen Daoxian comprehends the space sword intent, he can only do his best to cause a little space fluctuation. And here, Chen Daoxian gently waved the fairy sword in his hand, and a space crack was torn open immediately. After thinking about it, Chen Daoxian chose a direction and left quickly. Having hunted and killed the world demon for so long in the Dayuan demon country, Chen Daoxian has a far better understanding of the cultivation method of the world demon than ordinary monks. Perhaps even the ruthless cultivators of Qianyuan Jianzong did not understand the world demon as well as he did. According to the world monsters he hunted, Chen Daoxian knew that the method of cultivation of the world monsters was also named the method of the 3 realms. The so-called law of the 3 realms is to divide the 3 realms of heaven, earth and human within the source realm. Of course, the weakest world demon will definitely not be divided in such detail. Generally speaking, after the world demon reaches the level of Zifu, it begins to fill the Tao development in the source realm within the body, dividing the 3 realms. This is the real immortal source realm, and the 3 realms must have been divided. He just didn't know which realm of the 3 realms he was currently in. After pondering for a moment, Chen Daoxian felt that it would be better to find a few monsters and ask. After all, this origin realm was left by the true immortal level world demon, and the major demon nations must know much more about the origin realm than their human cultivators. Think of this. Chen Daoxian simply swayed here. The world demon monks sent by the 5 forces sounded huge in number, but when they were scattered into the real immortal level source world, it was quite a feeling that a drop of water was sprinkled into a lake. Chen Daoxian flew for a long time and found no trace of the human race monks and world demons. Chen Daoxian's consciousness swept away, and a look of surprise appeared on his face. Essence of vitality. The essence of vitality is a treasure that looks like a transparent mist. It only exists in the source realm of high-level demons, and as the source realm collapses, it will return to chaos. Except for the source world of the world demon, it is generally extremely difficult to preserve this kind of treasure. Qianyuan Jianzong provides a vessel to temporarily collect the essence of vitality, which is a special instrument called a jade crystal bottle. But ordinary jade crystal bottles can only store the essence of vitality for less than a month at most, and it will completely dissipate. This is also the reason why Chen Daoxian has never seen the essence of vitality in Wanxinghai. This kind of treasure is inherently available and unobtainable. Even if someone obtains it, most of it is used on the spot and very few people take it out for trading. After all, the essence of vitality is a treasure that can directly improve one's cultivation. Just when Chen Daoxian was about to put the essence of vitality into the jade crystal bottle, a ray of light flew towards him. Fellow Taoist, be slow. In the distance, a human race foundation building cultivator shouted through voice transmission. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 253. Over a barren desert. When Chen Daoxian heard this divine sense transmission, he took out the jade crystal bottle without changing his face, and put the essence of vitality into the bottle. Only then did he turn his head to look at the late foundation establishment cultivator. This late-stage foundation building cultivator was wearing a blue Taoist robe, with a white face and no beard. Perhaps as a son of a big family, he showed an air of arrogance all over his body. At this moment, the face of this white-faced cultivator was quite ugly. Seeing Chen Daoxian glance at him, he turned around and wanted to leave. The white-faced cultivator hurriedly stopped in front of him and cupped his hands. This fellow Taoist waits a minute. I am a cultivator of the Zhang family in Taizhou. I don't know which hall master elder of the Qianyuan sword sect is under the command of your friend. Stopped by the white-faced cultivator, Chen Daoxian immediately stopped and said coldly, "No need to test. I am not a cultivator of Qianyuan Jianzong." Hearing this, the white-faced cultivator breathed a sigh of relief. He cupped his hands and said, "Do you know the reason why Hallmaster Qin sent me and other base-building cultivators to enter the true immortal origin realm?" Seeing that Chen Daoxian didn't speak, the white-faced cultivator said to himself, "Palace Master Qin sent me and other foundation-building cultivators to come in, just so that we can use the essence of vitality to break through to become a cultivator of Zifu in the source world, so that we can help other Zifu seniors to capture the Dao Law. So, fellow Taoists know what to do, right?" The words of the white-faced cultivator surprised Song Chen Daoxian quite a bit. He thought that the other party would directly rely on his cultivation to the essence of vitality, but who would have thought that the other party would also use reason to convince people? Chen Daoxian looked at the other party with interest and smiled. "I don't understand. Zhang Dao thinks, what should I do?" Seeing Chen Daoxian's appearance, the white-faced cultivator put on a righteous and awe-inspiring look, and said sincerely, "In order to finally capture the Dao Law for the seniors of the true monarchs in Wan Xinghai, fellow Taoists should give me the essence of vitality. My cultivation base is higher than that of fellow Taoists. With these essences of vitality, I can break through to the Purple Palace as soon as possible, and contribute to my Wan Xinghai cultivators' struggle for the Dao Law." Hear this remark. Chen Daoxian couldn't help laughing. "Have you heard this sentence?" The white-faced monk frowned. "What?" Chen Daoxian said sternly. "I have never seen such a brazen person." The white-faced cultivator was stunned for a moment, and then he said angrily, "You are looking for..." Who knows? Before the word death was uttered, a sword light drowned his sight, and then the white-faced cultivator felt the darkness in front of him, and he was completely unconscious. Chen Daoxian held the flying snow sword in his right hand, looked at the corpse that was split in half by his sword in midair, shook his head and said, "You are the first foundation establishment cultivator who dares to stand in front of me 3 feet away and rob me." A flame popped out, burning the corpse in midair to ashes. Chen Daoxian took the storage bag left by the white-faced monk and a small tower-shaped magic tool into his hands. Afterwards, he swept his entire body with his divine sense to make sure that the white-faced cultivator had no backhand left by any high-ranking cultivator, and Chen Daoxian flew away immediately. In the real fairy source world, the group of 7 cultivators from the Jiang family's purple residence immediately stopped to escape. "Brother, what's wrong?" Seeing the leader of the Zifu cultivator with an ugly expression, he stopped and disappeared, and a Zifu cultivator behind him couldn't help asking. The leader of the Zifu cultivator turned his head, and immediately took out a soul card that had been shattered into 2 halves from the storage bag, and said, "The soul card of the Chan Su family is broken." "What?" When the other monks heard this, their faces became extremely ugly. You must know that although Jiang Cheng's cultivation level is not high, he is only in the late stage of foundation building, but his background is very amazing. The descendants of the Great Elder are nothing. After all, as a Yuaning cultivator, the first elder of the Jiang family has 1,000 years of life, and the descendants he left behind are unknown. A descendant of the foundation building period, who has been separated by many generations, has no privileges at all in the Jiang family. But Jiang Cheng's eldest brother is different. Jiang Cheng's eldest brother, named Jiang Chenai, is one of the Daozi of the Jiang family. The Daozi of the Xiaoxian clan probably has the same status as the direct disciple of Qianyuan Jianzong. Generally, only the nascent soul family will establish the identity of Daozi. Ordinary Zifu and Jindan families rarely establish Daozi. After all, the strength and influence of the family is not enough. Even if the position of Daozi is established, there is no credibility to speak out, and it will only make people laugh. And Jiang Jiadaozi, even if he leaves Taizhou, others will take a high look when he speaks out. If it is not a fundamental conflict of interest, others will usually choose to back down. Offending a Jiang family Daozi and offending an ordinary Jiang family cultivator are completely different things. After all, as the dominant family in Taizhou, the Jiang family is not only powerful, but also has many cultivators. Even if ordinary Jiang family disciples die, if there is no direct evidence, the Jiang family will not choose to go to great lengths to find evidence and retaliate. After all, one Xinghai is so vast. Even if an ordinary Jiang family cultivator is damaged, it is impossible to invite several ancestors to come out to find the murderer. If Yuaning Xinjuan didn't take action, it would not be easy to find the murderer. And after the murderer is found, subsequent arrests are even more difficult, because the people who dare to commit murder and cheating are basically ruthless loose cultivators. Arresting this kind of loose cultivator, the Jiang family does not know how much manpower and material resources it will spend. It is extremely unwise to speak only for an ordinary clansman. Generally speaking, even if the Jiang family confirmed the identity of the murderer, they would at most only post a wanted notice in the major immortal cities. But if the wanted order was useful to those ruthless loose cultivators, they wouldn't dare to commit murder. So don't think that the identity of the monk of the big clan is the gold medal of avoiding death. When encountering a real ruthless person, it is useless for you to be a disciple of Qianyuan sword sect. Of course, this situation is only for ordinary monks of big families. If an accident happened to the elite children of the family, the situation would be very different. For example, if Zhang Qian, the Daozi of the Zhang family, died in the night, I am afraid that the ancestors of the Zhang family would go out to the mountains to find the murderer. Because this level of family cultivator is already a matter of family inheritance. If Chen Fuxing of the Chen family is killed, Chen Daoxian will never give up finding the murderer. The other side, after Chen Daoxian has been identifying the direction, he has been flying towards the south. After so long groping, Chen Daoxian found that the farther he flew to the south, the less deserted the land was. At the end of his line of sight, Chen Daoxian actually found a small oasis in the inner desert. There is actually a small oasis here? Chen Daoxian was shocked and said, a source world left by a true fairy who has been dead for many years. There is still life. As far as Chen Daoxian knew, the source world of the world demon is generally lifeless. Maybe Chen Daoxian killed all the demons in the Great Yuan Demon Kingdom, and the other party's origin realm was relatively primitive, and no life was born. The real fairy world is obviously different. After so many years, there is still an oasis left here. In this way, before the true immortal level world monster fell, this source world is very likely to be a small world with a complete life cycle. The desert under his feet is likely to be a green continent. Although the method of the origin of the world monster relies on devouring life, at the same time, its origin has also nurtured countless lives. This method of cultivation does not seem to be harmful to the Tao. Chen Daoxian said silently. He and the other human race monks are hostile to the world monsters. The reason is naturally that the world monsters feed on the human race and other creatures. But for the beings in the realm is their creator. Once the monster dies, the source world in its body will slowly collapse, and a newly born world will come to an end. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian suddenly had a strange feeling in his heart. There is no right or wrong to survive. His so-called right and wrong is just standing in the position of the human race. But, since he is a human race, he should stand in the position of the human race. After thinking about this, Chen Daoxian had no more distractions. The speed of the escape light was 3 points faster, and it flew towards the oasis at the end of the field of vision. The oasis ahead is not large, about several hundred square kilometers. In a previous life it would be the size of an urban area. For the real monsters in the real demon world and the human monks in the immortal world, this area can only be circled in dozens of breaths, and it can only be regarded as a small oasis. Land escape light on the oasis. Chen Daoxian found that someone had already landed here. No, to be precise, it should be the two forces that came first. One is the base-building world demon of the Lion and Camel Demon Kingdom, and the other is the cultivator of the Ji family in Jingzhou. Coincidentally, one of them, Chen Daoxian, happened to know the foundation-building cultivator named Ji Yanzhao whom Chen Daoxian met when he went to Yuanshan Xiancheng. I saw the light flying from the sky. The world demons of the Lion Camel country frowned one after another, and they had an advantage when they originally faced off against the cultivators of the Ji family. Although they only gathered 3 blue lions, and the Jing family had 13 foundation-building cultivators, in their opinion, the Jing family's foundation-building cultivators were too strong. They are not opponents of the same level at all. The Ji family cultivators all looked happy when they saw Chen Daoxian. Especially Ji Yanzhao, he shouted towards Chen Daoxian for help. Brother Chen, come and help us. Hearing this call, the 3 green lion spirits turned their attention to Chen Daoxian. The 3 blue lion spirits seemed to have a lot of power left, and they pressed the Ji family's 13 foundation-building cultivators to fight without even displaying their demon bodies. Just stepped into the oasis range. Chen Daoxian finally understood why the two sides were arguing. The essence of vitality. Chen Daoxian saw that behind the 3 blue lion spirits, a massive vitality essence was floating. Visually, the weight of this group of vitality essence is at least several times higher than the one Chen Daoxian just collected. With so much vitality essence, it might even make a 9th-layer foundation establishment cultivator try to break through to the Purple Palace period. No wonder the Ji family's foundation-building cultivators are so jealous. As for the Ji family being able to gather 13 foundation-building cultivators together in such a short period of time, Chen Daoxian was not surprised. You must know that although the human monks of the same rank are generally not as powerful as the world monsters, but the human race cultivator has much more means than the world demon. It's like tracking secrets. Chen Daoxian's storage bag for Chen Fuxing before entering the real fairy world also contained a jade card that could find the trace of the other party. If you want to come to JIS family as the Yuanying family, there are more methods of tracing. This is also the reason why the Ji family cultivator can gather more than a dozen people in just a few hours after entering the true immortal origin realm. Compared with more than a dozen Ji family foundation establishment cultivators, when the 3 blue lions of the Lion Camel country can gather together, it is the real luck. Although the essence of vitality cannot improve the cultivation of the world monster, it can prevent the cultivation of human monks. Therefore, when the world monsters encounter the essence of vitality, they will definitely bring it into their source world as soon as possible, and will not give the cultivator a chance to improve their cultivation. But behind these 3 blue lion spirits, the essence of vitality is floating, and they are not included in the source world. The other party must want to use these essence of vitality to fish. Therefore, there is this scene that Chen Daoxian saw. Seeing that Chen Daoxian was indifferent, Ji Yanzhao couldn't help but be in a hurry and ask for help again. "Brother Chen, help me quickly. We will share the essence of vitality after the event." Yanzhao, another cultivator of the Ji family, heard this and was immediately dissatisfied. Although his status in the Ji family was not as high as Ji Yanzhao's, his cultivation was much higher than Ji Yanzhao's. Therefore, this trip is also based on him. Once he can obtain this essence of vitality, it is entirely possible for him to hit the Zifu period. Now that Ji Yanzhao opened his mouth to split half, the possibility of him breaking through the Purple Mansion was gone. It's a matter of the road, where can he take care of his kinship? If it wasn't for Ji Yanzhao's grandfather being the Jindan elder in the clan, he would have turned his face on the spot. Even so, his face at the moment is not very good-looking. Seeing that the clan brother was dissatisfied, Ji Yanzhao hurriedly explained through his divine sense voice transmission, "Brother Yanjua clan, seeing how these 3 blue lions are so skillful, it may not be easy for us to take them down." Hearing this, the young cultivator named Ji Yanju's expression froze. He knew that Ji Yanzhao was right, and then he retorted, "Clan brother, didn't you just say to use the cards left by the 13 elders? Besides, this person is only a middle-stage foundation-building cultivator. Even 13 of us can't take down these 3 blue lion spirits. What's the use of adding one more person?" "Brother, you don't know something," Ji Yanzhao explained. "I once had a relationship with this person, and I investigated this cultivator named Chen Daoxian afterwards. Although this Chen Daoxian has a low cultivation level, he is a sword cultivator." Sword repair. Ji Yanjua was horrified when she heard the words, "Ordinary foundation-building cultivators don't care at all, but sword cultivators are different. Ordinary foundation-building sword cultivators can at least match dozens or even dozens of cultivators of the same rank. Sword cultivators are called invincible at the same rank, but it is not without reason. Although the 13 of them are the best among the foundation-building cultivators, they will not be afraid of the foundation-building period sword cultivators when they are united together. But it is not an easy task to defeat the opponent. But if you do this, isn't it really going to give him half of the essence of vitality?" Ji Yanjua hesitated. "How can you divide him in half?" Ji Yanzhao hurriedly said, "After killing the 3 blue lion spirits, I will take out the whole card my grandfather left me and force him to leave. After you break through the Purple Palace period with your vitality essence, you don't have to worry about his revenge anymore. Under the Gulp of Tigers we can still save the whole card my grandfather gave me. After all, there are far more world monsters than my human cultivators here. Although the opportunity is deep, the danger is even heavier. One more trump card can also give more safety. Hearing this, Ji Yanjue completely let go of the grudge just now, and joked, Yanzhou, if you do this, you are not afraid of offending a sword cultivator? What are you afraid of? Ji Yanzhou said disdainfully, no matter how talented you are, after all, you are from a small family, you can't say whether you can get out of the real fairyland alive, let alone in the future. If cultivators such as me are so timid in their work, what kind of immortals are they still to cultivate, and what avenues do they seek? Well said. Hearing these remarks, Ji Yanjue couldn't help but respect Ji Yanzhou, who used to think that Ji Yanzhou was the grandfather of Elder Jindan. But when he heard these words for the first time, he had a sense of identity with Ji Yanzhou. The communication between the two of them is slow and fast. It's done almost instantly. Seeing that Chen Daoxian was still unmoved, Ji Yanzhou said through his divine sense, Brother Chen, although you and I were a little unhappy before, we are both human monks here and should belong to the same camp. After this incident, I will personally apologize to Brother Chen. Hearing this, Chen Daoxian took a deep look at the other party. Before he could make a decision, the three green lion spirits made the choice for him. Standing in the air, Chen Daoxian only felt a huge pressure pressing on him, making him feel like he was in a quagmire. Source World Projection. Chen Daoxian frowned. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 254. The source world projection of the world demon is somewhat similar to the Tao domain of the human monks. Of course, the source world projection of these three blue lion spirits is far inferior to the fourth level Tao domain of the Great Tao, and even the domain-like instruments of higher rank are not comparable. But in a battle of the same rank, the human race cultivator is no match for the world monster. At this moment it is suppressed by the source world projection, and its strength is weakened, and it is not the opponent of the world monster. This is also the reason why the 13 foundation-building cultivators of the Ji family were suppressed by 3 foundation-building level blue lions. At the moment when Chen Daoxian was enveloped by the projection of the Qingshi Jingyuan realm, one after another star lights bloomed among the crowd. Almost in an instant, Xingmong ripped apart the 3 blue lion spirits and the 12 foundation-building cultivators of the Ji family, leaving only Ji Yanzhou standing there dumbfounded. It wasn't that Chen Daoxian was showing mercy, but the crystal-clear little sword suspended in front of the opponent, and Ji Yanzhao's whole body was firmly protected by this little sword. Character. Chen Daoxian frowned slightly. For why? Ji Yanzhou was completely frightened by the scene in front of him. He didn't know why Chen Daoxian would suddenly attack them. He didn't even expect that Chen Daoxian would be so strong. Are all swordsmen so powerful? Chen Daoxian's strength simply subverted Ji Yanzhao's cognition of Jianxiu. As the largest immortal cultivator family in Jingzhou, the Ji family has a small number of sword cultivators, but it is not too small. Ji Yanzhou even played against these foundation-building sword cultivators. Although he was crushed by a sword cultivator of the same rank, the opponent would never be able to kill so many foundation cultivators with one blow like Chen Daoxian. This person. Isn't it a late-stage cultivator of the Zifu pretending to be? Chen Daoxian looked at Ji Yanzhao's terrified expression on his face. Without saying a word, the starlight condensed, and he slashed at Ji Yanzhou again. Boom! The small sword-shaped talisman suspended in front of Ji Yanzhou blocked Chen Daoxian's attack for the second time. Chen Daoxian stared at it and saw that this small sword-shaped talisman did not change at all, except that the light on the sword was a little dim. Don't waste your energy. Even if you are a cultivator of the Zifu, you can't break the defense of the Qingfu sword for a while. Seeing that Fu Jian blocked Chen Daoxian's offensive, Ji Yanzhou stabilized his mind. As long as the seniors are willing to let me go, I will make a blood oath and pretend that nothing happened. And everything here is yours. How about you? Hearing this, Chen Daoxian remained silent. Seeing Chen Daoxian's unmoved appearance, Ji Yanzhao was heartbroken and immediately flew out of the oasis. He is gambling. He bet that Chen Daoxian could meet the cultivator of the Zifu of the human race before breaking the defense of the Qingfu sword. In this way, he has the hope of being rescued. Standing here and expecting Qingfu Zhen to defeat Chen Daoxian is undoubtedly unrealistic. Ji Yanzhao, even if he is a pig, understands that Chen Daoxian's strength far exceeds the upper limit of the foundation-building cultivator, and is even stronger than the ordinary Zifu cultivator. At least the cultivators in the early period of Zifu could not kill the 12G family Foundation Establishment monks and the 3 Foundation Establishment world demons in one blow. With this kind of strength, no one would believe that Chen Daoxian was a late-stage cultivator of Zifu. Seeing this, Chen Daoxian couldn't care about hiding his strength. Immediately, he displayed 3 heads and 6 arms, and his body and sword were combined into one, turning it into a single drill, and pounced in the direction of Ji Yanzhao's flight. 6-armed strike. Sky. The 6 sword beams merged into one and slashed towards Ji Yanzhao. The Qingfu sword seemed to feel the power of this blow, and the sword body trembled wildly. Ji Yanzhao only felt that he was enveloped by a fear of death, and the whole person turned hideous. Until this moment, he didn't understand why Chen Daoxian suddenly shot at them. Forward. Ji Yanzhao turned his head with difficulty, and before he could say anything to beg for mercy, he was completely beheaded by Chen Daoxian with a sword and completely beheaded into nothingness. In the sky, the cracks in the space torn apart by Chen Daoxian's sword glow slowly repaired and merged with Ji Yanzhao's death. This action is slow and fast. From Ji Yanzhao's escape to Chen Daoxian's use of 6-armed strikes to kill him, the two of them have not yet rushed out of this small oasis. Chen Daoxian's spiritual sense glanced over, and after confirming that the other party was completely dead, he shook his head and said, "Using spiritual sense to transmit sound in front of someone whose spiritual sense is stronger than you has no common sense at all." It turned out that although Ji Yanzhao and his clan brothers' divine sense transmission was secret, Chen Daoxian's divine sense was comparable to that of a cultivator of the Zifu, and it was almost no different from what he said in his ear. The cultivator is not strong enough and only engages in these insidious tricks, which is no different from the jumping clown. Of course, this was also because Ji Yanzhao had seriously misestimated Chen Daoxian's strength, or he didn't know much about Jianxiu at all. He mistakenly thought that the strength of all the foundation-building sword cultivators was not much different, which led to the end of death, if it weren't for him conspiring against Chen Daoxian. At most, Chen Daoxian was beheading 3 blue lion spirits, and he would leave after collecting the essence of vitality, and would not attack and kill the Ji family cultivators. After all, as Ji Yanzhao said, although the monks in the 3 states usually have contradictions, they are all of the same human camp in essence, and they should not fight in the true immortal origin realm. Back to the oasis alone. Chen Daoxian looked at the corpses all over the ground, some from the world monsters, and some from the Ji family cultivators. Shook his head. Chen Daoxian skillfully cut open the corpses of the blue lion spirits, took out 3 Jiyuan beads from their bodies, and then confiscated the storage bags and instruments of the 12G family cultivators. Then a flame popped out, burning the piled body to ashes. Looking at the ashes on the ground, Chen Daoxian waved his sleeves, and the 3 blue lion spirit demons and the 12G family foundation-building cultivators were completely wiped out. Do it all. Chen Daoxian raised his head and looked at this oasis and the essence of vitality left on this oasis. Speaking of which, Chen Daoxian's luck is really good. In less than a day after entering the true immortal origin realm, 1 large and 1 small 2 copies of vitality essence were harvested. Of course, this is because Chen Daoxian's strength is far stronger than that of ordinary foundation-building cultivators, otherwise it would not be luck but death. After collecting the essence of vitality, Chen Daoxian's consciousness swept the entire oasis, found a freshwater lake, and flew towards the freshwater lake. After receiving 2 copies of vitality essence in succession, Chen Daoxian intends to improve his cultivation level before making plans. He basically figured it out now. The further south you go from here, the more traces of oasis or life there are. On the contrary, the further north you go, the more desolate you will be, and even the realm of chaos. So, according to the division of the 3 realms in the real fairy source realm, this is not the realm of the earth, it is the realm of humans, and it cannot be the realm of heaven anyway. From Jinjuan Yuanqian, Chen Daoxian learned that there are 3 kinds of treasures in the source world, namely the essence of vitality, blood marrow, and the law of the Tao. If he guessed right, the treasures born in these 3 source realms should belong to different realms. According to the most stable situation of the heaven in the source world, it should be the place where the Tao law is stored. The other 2 realms are the places where vitality essence and blood marrow are born. In fact, for Chen Daoxian, although the essence of vitality can improve his cultivation, it cannot enhance his strength. Unless Chen Daoxian obtained the essence of vitality, he can directly improve his strength to the Zifu period. Otherwise, even if his cultivation level is upgraded to the 9th floor of the foundation building, the improvement in his strength will be almost nothing. In the stage of foundation building, the essence of vitality is not as strong as the blood marrow to improve his strength. At least Chen Daoxuan's body refining strength is far from the limit derived from flesh and blood. Chen Daoxuan's basic strength of qi refining is 10, and his basic strength of body refining has only reached 4. Compared with the fact that there is almost no room for improvement in qi refining strength at the foundation building level, Chen Daoxuan's body refining strength has much more room for improvement. Next to the oasis freshwater lake, Chen Daoxian set up a simple defensive formation, sat cross-legged and thought. The 3 treasures belong to the 3 realms of heaven, earth and human beings. Moreover, after our group of cultivators of the Foundation Establishment Purple Mansion entered the true immortal origin realm, they were teleported to different locations. Could it be teleported to different places according to the different cultivation bases? What about the realm? Chen Daoxian guessed. If this is the case, it can explain why the master of the Zhenhai Palace chose 10,000 foundation building cultivators. We foundation building cultivators, in addition to being a reserve force, should still be transporting troops. Chen Daoxian raised his head. Transportation of vitality essence or blood marrow for the cultivators of Zifu. Although all this is just Chen Daoxuan's guess, he has a hunch that this is likely to be the truth of the matter. Otherwise, it is impossible for the Hall Master of Zhenhai Palace to dispatch 10,000 foundation establishment cultivators for no reason. If it is only used as a backup force, would it be bad to replace the foundation establishment cultivators with more Zifu cultivators? The only reason is that after entering the true immortal origin realm, the cultivators of the Zifu may not be able to enter the realm where the essence of vitality is, and they can only rely on the cultivators to send them there. To verify whether this guess is true, Chen Daoxian only needs to find some more human monks or world demons to see if they have a foundation building cultivation base. No matter what, improve your cultivation first. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian didn't think much about it. Using the essence of vitality to directly improve the cultivation base is something that can or can't be asked, whether it is in the real demon world or in the human race's immortal world. Although these 2 essences of vitality would not allow Chen Daoxian to break through to the Purple Palace period, it would also allow him to further his cultivation. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian took out the jade crystal bottle. The next moment, the transparent mist in the jade crystal bottle rushed towards Chen Daoxuan's body. Soon the essence of vitality followed Chen Daoxuan's body, and finally merged into the sea of qi in the Dantian. Dantian gas is domestic. The originally calm Jinyuan lake suddenly became turbulent. Every trace of mist merges into the Jinyuan lake, and Chen Daoxuan's Jinyuan lake grows. Along with the growth of the Jinyuan lake, Chen Daoxuan's Dantian qi sea is also growing. In less than an hour, the Dantian qi sea seemed to have grown to a certain limit, suddenly skyrocketing. Breakthrough. Build the 6th floor of the foundation, Chen Daoxian said in surprise. Compared with swallowing spiritual medicine, refining spiritual qi, a way to improve one's cultivation, and incorporating the essence of vitality, is simply a hang-up. It's just that this method of opening up and improving one's cultivation can only raise the monk's cultivation to the Purple Palace period, and then if he wants to continue to improve, he has to ask the monk's realm to keep up with his cultivation. This is also the reason why the Zifu cultivator was reluctantly recognized as a high-level cultivator by the Xiaoxian world. Because after becoming a cultivator of Zifu, even if the cultivator's understanding is poor, he must comprehend the Tao, otherwise the Taoist realm is not enough, and wanting to improve his cultivation is as difficult as going to the sky. Chen Daoxian didn't have any realm problems, let alone relying on the essence of vitality to achieve Zifu. Even using it to make rapid progress in Zifu's cultivation base was a piece of cake. This is the benefit of high realm. Otherwise, the general base-building cultivator's realm is not enough. Even if he obtains the essence of multi-element energy, he can only improve his cultivation to the early stage of Zifu at most. How can he improve his cultivation without restraint like Chen Daoxian? Building the 7th floor of the foundation. After more than an hour, as the last trace of vitality essence merged into the Jinyuan lake, his Dantian Qi expanded again, and his cultivation level officially entered the 7th floor of foundation establishment, reaching the later stage of foundation establishment. Open your eyes from the retreat. Chen Daoxian murmured. The speed of improving cultivation is too terrifying. Until now, Chen Daoxian is a little unbelievable. There are such treasures in this world, which can directly help cultivators improve their cultivation. However, Chen Daoxian was relieved when he thought that this essence of vitality was only found in the real immortal level source world. The true fairy world is extremely rare, and it is a matter of two to say whether the true monster world exists today, let alone let it provide the essence of vitality for the human cultivator, the archenemy. Shaking his head, he sighed at his greed. Chen Daoxian put away the empty jade crystal bottle and began to count the harvest of the 2 treasure hunts. In the 2 treasure hunts, apart from Ji Yinzhao, who was cut into nothingness by his storage bag, Chen Daoxian confiscated a total of 13 storage bags, various instruments used by the monk, and 3 foundation-building Jiuan beads. He first pierced the Jie Yuanzhu, allowing the golden scriptures in the Sea of Consciousness to absorb the chaotic energy in the Jiuanzhu, and then fed it back into stardust, which was stored in Chen Daoxian's Sea of Consciousness. Seeing that he added a small wave of Xingqian because he had consumed almost half of the stardust in the Wan Xinghai trial, Chen Daoxian's mood became better again. According to the average time it takes him to have an epiphany for 1 foundation establishment level Jie Yuanzhu, the comprehension stardust fed back by these 3 Jiuan beads can extend his epiphany time by a day and a half. Comprehension stardust is a strategic resource for Chen Daoxian, and it is not too much. For him, as long as he has enough comprehension stardust, he can use the method of opening and hanging to improve the realm of the avenue. This advantage all monks cannot compare to him. No evildoer can compare to Chen Daoxian, who has sufficient understanding in stardust. If there is, it means that the amount of stardust of his perception is not enough. In fact, for Chen Daoxian, the greatest treasure of the true immortal origin realm is not the essence of vitality, nor the blood marrow, but a huge number of demons. Before, he had only beheaded more than 50 world demons in Dayuan Kingdom, but he actually attracted the pursuit of the demon master. Although there are a large number of demons in the Great Yuan Demon Nation, if you want to kill them, you have to be prepared to roll over. In the true immortal origin realm, there is no such worry at all. Because in the true immortal origin realm, especially this realm, it is very likely that all of them are base building level demons, and there is not even a purple level monster. For Chen Daoxian, there is not much difference between building a base level demon and delivering food. And the number of this group of demons is as high as tens of thousands. Wait, my Wuxia cultivator will definitely go to the gate of the realm, and the foundation level monsters will definitely gather near the gate of the realm in order to hunt down my human cultivator. That said, I don't need to deliberately collect the essence of vitality at all. I just need to stay at the gate of the realm and wait for the foundation-level realm demon? Chen Daoxian's eyes suddenly lit up. In this way, the essence of vitality and Jiuanzu will not be available. It is simply delivered to your door. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian didn't bother to check the confiscated storage bag, and only put all the items and instruments in the monk's storage bag into a high-end storage bag. As for other storage bags, they are directly crushed with sword light. It wasn't until he received the last small tower-shaped magic weapon that he paused slightly. If he remembered correctly, this tower-shaped magic weapon was seized from the Jiang family cultivator. Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. Chapter 255. This is. Chen Daoxian carefully inspected this tower-shaped magic weapon with his divine sense, and said with a surprised expression, Dongtian magic weapon. The space magic tool of the cave is different from the storage bag. It's not that the storage space of the Dongtian artifact must be larger than the storage bag, but the things stored in the two are different. Generally speaking, in addition to being able to store dead objects, cave instruments can also hold living objects, while storage bags can only store dead objects. Therefore, in the world of cultivating immortals, the magic tools of the cave are much more precious than the space magic tools such as storage bags. The large transport ship owned by the Chun family is a kind of cave artifact. Of course, the cave that comes with the Chun family transport ship is much larger than the tower-shaped magic weapon in Chun Daoxuan's hand. But the size of the large transport ship is also very large, and it is impossible for Chun Daoxian to hold it in the palm of his hand like this tower-shaped instrument. From this point of view, it is hard to say which of the two is more precious. Thinking of this, Chun Daoxian couldn't help frowning. It seems that the Jiang family cultivator I killed has a very unusual background. Generally speaking, even a cultivator like the Jiang family, a mere foundation-building cultivator, would not be able to possess such a precious treasure as a cave artifact. Since this Jiang family foundation-building cultivator can possess such a precious magic weapon, it can only prove that he is not an ordinary Jiang family cultivator. But the strength of this Jiang family foundation establishment cultivator is not strong. The only possibility is that this person has a great background. But to say regret, Chun Daoxian did not feel regret. Since the other party dared to blatantly rob him, it means that the Jiang family cultivator has long had murderous intentions towards him. How could Chun Daoxian be soft-hearted? You must know that this is the real fairyland. If you kill a person here, as long as everyone is not found, even the nascent soul cultivator will not be able to find out. Therefore, the two groups of Wan Xinghai monks that Chun Daoxian met before and after were all somewhat unscrupulous. Even himself, mastering the power and losing restraint, the evil thoughts in people's hearts will be infinitely magnified. Especially in the real fairy source world, there are treasures related to the monk's path. It can be said that the true immortal origin realm at this moment is the most real and cruel appearance of the immortal cultivation realm. Usually in Wan Xinghai, there is still Qinyuan Jianzong pressing on the heads of the monks, and everyone dare not mess around easily. But here no force can affect everyone. As long as it is not discovered by others, even if a cultivator kills the direct disciple of Qinyuan Jianzong on the spot, Qinyuan Jianzong will not have the opportunity to enter the real fairy source world to find out. But then again, since the other party is carrying a storage bag, what is he doing with the cave artifact to true immortal origin realm? Chun Daoxian frowned again. Could it be? Chun Daoxian couldn't care about the Dongtian artifact in his hand, and immediately checked the Jiang family cultivator's relics that he had put in the storage bag. A long time. He just found a few jade slips among the other party's pile of relics. Chun Daoxian quickly infiltrated his consciousness into the jade slips, and checked them one by one. It's not this one and this one isn't found. Until he looked at the fourth jade slip, Chun Daoxuan's face suddenly showed a look of surprise. Sure enough, this Jiang family cultivator is carrying the Dongtian magic weapon to capture the world demon. This fourth jade slip records the secret method of the ancient sect of Xianyun's beast fighting sect, Soul Seal. The royal beast sect once flourished during the war between the human race and the demon race in ancient times. At that time, the demon clan and the human clan competed against each other, and a large number of demon beasts filled the major immortal continents in the Xiaoxian world. Relying on the original Soul Seal secret method, the Imperial Beast sect has enslaved a large number of monsters as sect thugs, and it has prospered for a period of time. Only, with the defeat of the monster clan, the remaining monsters either fled to untouched wild places or to the deep sea. It became more and more difficult for the Imperial Beast sect to find a large number of high-quality thugs as before. In the end, this once prosperous sect disappeared into the history of the immortal world. However, although the Imperial Beast sect has disappeared, its Taoism has not been lost. Legend has it that in the world of immortality, there are still other forces that hold the secret methods of the Imperial Beast sect, but I didn't expect it to be the Jiang family. Chun Daoxian thought to himself. But when you think about it, it's not surprising that the Jiang family has mastered this secret technique. The Jiang family was responsible for guarding the Weiyang Immortal City for nearly 100 years, opposite the Qingqiu demon country. In the face of the huge number of nine-tailed demon foxes, it is impossible to say that the Jiang family is not moved at all. So, it makes sense that the Jiang family has mastered the Soul Seal secret technique. Chen Daoxian murmured, perhaps, the Jiang family has raised a large number of demons in private. Thinking of this, he shook his head. Forget it. Don't want this, it's important to do business. Chen Daoxian took the jade slip and the tower-shaped Dongtian artifact into his arms, drove the escape light, and flew further south. Really? The situation in this realm is exactly the same as Chen Daoxian's guess. The further south you fly, the more signs of life, but unfortunately, there are no traces of life other than plants and water sources. Along the way, he did encounter a lot of world monsters and Wanxinghai monks, but Chen Daoxian did not alarm them. Instead, he exerted the breath-holding technique to the extreme and passed by quietly. With his escaping speed faster than the ordinary Zifu cultivator, no realm demon or Wanxinghai cultivator found it. Flying for about a day and a night, Chen Daoxian finally saw a huge space barrier. Chen Daoxian flew close to the space barrier, put his hand on the transparent crystal wall, and said with a smile on his face, sure enough, the Zifu cultivator and the foundation building cultivator are not in the same realm. However, my escaping speed is much faster than that of the foundation establishment cultivators, and they are still looking for the essence of vitality everywhere to improve their cultivation. Besides, attacking and killing the world demon is justified. You can't directly rob the Wanxinghai cultivator, right? Chen Daoxian could not help frowning. Once the foundation establishment world demon is killed, everything in the source world will turn into chaos in an instant. Even if the other party stores the essence of vitality in the source world, Chen Daoxian will not be able to get it. If you want to get a lot of Jia Yuanzhu and get a lot of vitality essence, you have to plan carefully. Chen Daoxian muttered. He found that he had made things simple before. Jia Yuanzhu is not difficult to obtain, but if he wants to obtain the essence of vitality, he can't slaughter one Xinghai cultivator for it. Once this matter is exposed, everyone in his Chen family will be yelled at. Thinking of this, Chen Daoxian pondered again. Unless I put on a black glove. Chen Daoxian's eyes lit up when he thought of the Soul Seal secret method seized from the Jiang family cultivator. And this black glove has to be strong enough. In a large oasis north of the space barrier, 9 demon foxes displayed a demon body image. 9 foxtails were erected behind them like a pillar of the sky, and huge blood-colored demon pupils stared at the 12 bat demons in front of them. The big monster with red eyes. Everyone is a monster. Why should they kill each other? A bat demon looked at the 9-tailed demon fox in front of him in horror, and trembled. It is obviously a foundation-level world demon, but it is called a big demon by the bat demon of the extreme night demon country. It can be seen that this 9-tailed demon fox, known as the Red Eye, has a great reputation in the Qingqiu demon country. Hear this. The red-eyed demon grinned and sneered. You are a bat, I am a fox demon, how do we come from the same race? You. The leading bat demon looked at the big red-eyed demon, speechless in horror. It stands to reason that although Qitong is powerful and comparable to the Zifu-level monster, he shouldn't be so frightened by the wind. The reason why Qitong's reputation is so great, in addition to its strength, is also related to its style. Generally speaking, the world monsters of the major demon countries will raise all kinds of blood food for the world monsters to cultivate the source world. The same is true of the Qingqiu demon kingdom. They built a large number of cities within the country, and raised human races in the cities for them to devour. But in the demon country of Qingqiu there is a monster. It doesn't eat the human race it supports, but likes to eat other world monsters. Especially in the extremely night demon country, which is weaker than the Qingqiu demon country, there are often world demons that are swallowed by the red pupils. This Qitong is extremely smart, and every time he makes a move on the border of the Qingqiu demon nation without knowing it, he evacuates quickly after he succeeds, not giving the big demon and the demon king of the extreme night demon nation a chance to react. In addition, the border between the Qingqiu demon nation and the extreme night demon nation is extremely long, and it is impossible for the big demon and the demon king to stay at the border all year round for a small base-building world demon. Therefore, after a few more arrests by the demon nation of the extreme night, they just let it go. Anyway, This big red-eyed demon is very measured. Every time he is active near the border, he will never enter the hinterland of the extreme night demon country. The big demons and demon kings of the demon kingdom of extreme night don't care. The lowly base-building little demons are miserable, and the little demons are often swallowed by Qi Tong. After coming and going, the base-building little demon of the extremely night demon country is more afraid of Qi Tong than the big demon of their own country. Gradually, with her powerful strength and cruel style, Qi Tong won the title of Great Demon in the extreme night demon country. Inside a large oasis, although there are 13 bat monsters on this side, and only Qi Tong on the opposite side, these bat monsters in the extreme night monster country have no certainty of winning, and instead faintly want to escape from here. Qi Tong devoured so many demons from the extreme night demon nation, and he saw the timidity in the other's eyes at a glance. Want to run? The 9 foxtails behind the red-eyed demon are like 9 pillars that lift the sky, rolling up the 9 bat demons like a streamer. Wow! Rolling up the 9 bat demons, the big red-eyed demon opened its mouth, and directly sent the 9 bat demons into the mouth, chewing frantically. Ah! 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 Shay! With a scream, the 9 bat demons soon died, and their bodies and their origins were all swallowed by the red-eyed demon. After swallowing 9 bat demons, the big red-eyed demon glanced at the direction in which the other bat demons fled. Instead of chasing after them, they crawled on the spot and digested them seriously. As the big red-eyed demon crawls on the ground, the source realm in the body frantically swallows up the source realm of the bat demon. A day later, the origin of the 9 bat demons was completely digested, and the big red-eyed demon stood up, his breath stronger. At this time it is really only a thin line away from the Zifu level monster. Moreover, in terms of real strength, Qi Tong is probably stronger than the ordinary Zifu great demon. Who? At the moment when the big red-eyed demon regained its human form, it quickly turned its head, and the demon pupil stared at the void. Sharp! In the void, a figure wearing a white robe suddenly appeared. It was Chun Daoxian, who was looking for black gloves in this realm. Human monk. Qi Tong looked at Chun Daoxian vigilantly. Qi Tong was extremely terrified. It asked itself that there was no opponent in the base-building level big monster. I didn't expect to find a human cultivator lurking beside him for so long. Although the ability to hide does not mean that the strength is necessarily strong, it at least proves that this person can attack it when it is absorbed in digestion, causing it to die. You've been following me for a long time? Qi Tong probed. Right? Chun Daoxian nodded. To be precise, he has been looking for black gloves in this realm for a long time. This big demon named Qi Tong is his favorite, black gloves. Hearing this, Qi Tong felt even more jealous of Chun Daoxian in his heart. But it did not show weakness. Human monk, if I were you, I would definitely run as far as the uncle is in a good mood at this moment. You don't eat people? Hearing this, Qi Tong's fox face wrinkled. What exactly are you trying to say? It's nothing, I'm just curious that a world demon would actually not eat people. Eat human. Qi Tong smiled disdainfully. Only the weak will eat that kind of thing. Compared with your human race, the origin of the monster race is the real supplement. Hearing this, Chun Daoxian laughed. Understood, so it is. What do you want to say in the end? For some reason, the unease in Qi Tong's heart became stronger and stronger. Nothing, Chun Daoxian spread his hands and said with a smile. It's just that I just lack a spiritual pet. Would you like to be it? What? The red-eyed demon simply suspected that there was something wrong with his ears. This human cultivator actually wanted it to be the other party's spiritual pet. Next second, a 9-tailed demon fox with a body as high as 100 meters tall, covered in snow white, and fur like a steel needle suddenly appeared in front of Chun Daoxian. Cultivator of the human race, I didn't hear you just now, say it again. Qi Tong grinned and said with a cruel smile. Feeling the hot breath coming towards his face, Chun Daoxian commented with a smile. Is this your real body? Yes, the fur is smooth, the eyes are bright, and it is a good spiritual pet. Hearing this, Qi Tong was stunned for a moment, and then roared, Who? Human cultivator, you are courting death. With this roar, the moisture in the air in front of Qi Tong was suddenly evaporated into a white mist. Immediately afterwards, a demon claw came out from the white fog. At the same time where Chen Daoxian was, the space was immediately torn apart by a crack. Taking a closer look, Qi Tong found that the front was empty. Here it is. On top of Qi Tong's head, a Taoist dressed in white stood between its ears. This time Qi Tong was completely irritated, and the projection of the source world directly suppressed Chen Daoxian. Feeling the terrifying pressure that was twice as good as the previous projection of the blue lion spirit, Chen Daoxian shook his head. The projection of the realm is really a powerful magical power. Die! Seeing Chen Daoxian's figure who was unable to move after being suppressed by the source world projection, Qi Tong showed a cruel smile again. Just the next moment, the smile on its face solidified. What did you do to me? Please remember this book's first domain name. _WAP. You're tuning into the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.